R.I.P. Kyle Busch. The rowdy legend will live on.
Hello, I'm back. Let's hope the internet stays on. I'm not on cam today. There's like a look, man. There's a tiredness in my eyes, and I'd like to experience it in the solitude of my room alone. Oh God. This whole internet saga is like actually eroding my constitution of mental fortitude, I think. Oh God. That's yeah, man, yeah. Oh shit. Oh. So yeah, I'm back on the reactive today. Um I know some of you are like, "No." And then some of you don't care, but I can't do it. I can't do it. I just can't fucking do it. All right. I'm on stream. That's more than you would expect from me. Are we right or are we right? Anyway, we're gonna go back to the Age of Scorpius. We're gonna read the review from the r/ piece of shit book club, go over some more of these Milo things, maybe go over the video. It's a long video that was offered, but you know, we move. First though, I do want to take a little detour. Have you guys been paying attention to the enhanced games by any chance? If not, let me clue you in on some Kino right now. There is a not Olympics going on where the shtick of it is where the shtick of it is, what if all the athletes could openly take PEDs, right? So during the enhanced games, all of the athletes basically, we'll get to Brian Johnson in a minute. It does have to do with him. Hold on. Let me pull up some enhanced games clips. But the enhanced games are basically like a corporate funded venture to be like, oh, all of these athletes are going to take humongous amounts of drugs to see if they can surpass human limitations. So let this be known, this is like an insanely like cyberpunkian thing, okay? This is like a Peter Thiel funded event that's like / serious, by the way. I know I joke about Peter Thiel a lot. But these guys are like getting in on this, and it's literally like the Olympics, but everybody is juicing.
Much so. Look at lane 5.
So this is the women's 100-meter dash, and the person who ended up winning it ends up being a non-juicing athlete, okay? So there's a bunch of athletes that are placed into this that are like, I can win and I don't need drugs or performance enhancers to do it, right? By the way, this should all like show you the build that they all have. If you do take PEDs, you're not going to instantaneously become like giga humongous. Okay. Yeah, the only non-juiced athlete won. And the non-juiced swimmer won as well. It was very funny because the juiced swimmers, and I don't even know why they did this, because if you're a professional athletic swimmer, you know that if you aren't like live, like that you don't have like a thin build, you're going to sink in the water, right? Really buff guys sink in the water. But yes, the non-juice athlete ended up winning on this. Okay. What kind of juice? The kind that will get you stopped at by a nice DEA officer. The kind that makes you run longer, jump farther, all that stuff, okay? That kind of juice. Anyway, Brian Johnson is one of the commentators for this event, and this tweet, it probably says it all. But if you're unfamiliar, Brian Johnson's trying to live forever, and he's one of the guys that's been commenting on this, right? And
visible skin aging is
so here's him at the enhanced games with an umbrella and blackout sunglasses.
Why are you holding an umbrella?
90% of visible skin aging is from the sun. So this is a UV umbrella protecting me from the sun. Even though the UV index is 2, that's right, you got it. So
I might need to get an umbrella.
So yes, so that partially put Brian Johnson back on the radar. I've been kind of like periodically like looking at him. Guys, it's okay to age. I don't know, man. I'm doing the Korean like skincare routine. All right, I'll be putting that retinol on before bed. I didn't do my morning moisturize today though. For shame, for shame. But Brian Johnson found love recently, and his tweets changed from I am testing out my son's erection to I have fallen in love with with this woman who also is amazing, right? Did you at least put on sunscreen? No, man. I just rolled out of bed. I don't even give a shit anymore. I don't fucking fuck me. But Brian Johnson has been putting out some of the craziest tweets about his girlfriend's pussy. All right. To be clear, Brian Johnson tweeted a few weeks ago about how his girlfriend's pussy is in the top 1% of pussies. I know that I'm like wording this in the most vulgar way possible, but that is what he said. Okay, basically that her yeast and that the microbiome of her like vaginal wall was better than most women. Um, I Brian Johnson is deeply unwell. Well, he has a medical fetish. That is what this is. Okay, we are all experiencing against our will Brian Johnson's medical fetish with his girlfriend Kate. Okay, is there a pussy leaderboard? Apparently, yeah, man.
Oh, that Brian Johnson,
No,
not
no,
the
yeah,
primal
yeah.
living one.
Brian Johnson is different from the Liver King, but they're in the same sphere of guy, I would say. But yes, Brian Johnson is hella autistic, and his autistic fixation just happens to be his girlfriend's pussy. I don't know how other neurodivergent gentlemen are going to be able to compete in such power scaling Olympics, all right? Because it's like, unless you're fixed, dude, the concept of a guy being like, damn, girl, you're my new autistic fixation. I'm really fixating on your pussy, like. But he went to the gynecologist with her, okay, and it's examining Kate's 1%, her 1% nunu. All right, she has suspected endometriosis. This affects at least 1 in 10 women, likely more. Here she is getting an ultrasound. Historically, you need surgery just to diagnose it. Incisions are made in the abdomen. We're doing non-invasive route. Typically, women live with endometriosis for 7 to 10 years before being diagnosed. It is a leading reason women aged 30 to 40 get hysterectomies. So here's her talking about all of this. So here, and then he goes into talking about the measurements, bro. He's like, oh, well, here's the test we're doing. My girl's getting her vaginal ultrasound, the pelvic MRI. I mean, you can't really go to the gyno without getting the pelvic MRI. It's just one of those things you do. It's like changing your oil. Yeah, it's a pussy vaccine. And then they're like, he's explaining what happened during her fucking ultrasound, dude. I'm not gonna read this out. I'm not gonna horrify you all, right? Bro, I don't want your GF's coochie dimensions, dude. So, I mean, ultimately, I think this is the intention of the, okay, assuming the intention behind this is like appropriate, right? Because endometriosis is bad, right? And hopefully, we reach some, we work on that. The medical community works on endometriosis, right? Like that's okay. I think that's fine. And we should be open about these things so that way people aren't afraid or apprehensive about going to the gynecologist or anything like that, right? That they should be talking to their doctor. But then this is so crazy. Like, so many things are crazy. And the craziest part about this is the image that he attached with this, which, don't worry, there's nothing problematic here. But it is Brian Johnson in the gyno office staring at the gynecologist put the camera up her hoo-ha. Okay? He's like examining it with the doctor the same way like a guy looks at the engine block of a car when he puts the hood up, okay? Dude, they're examining her 1% like she's a Ferrari up in there. But here's the funny part is that it's all consensual, and this Kate lady is like so into all of this. It's actually really funny because like all of the posts switch between this and Brian Johnson going, my God, I love her. I love this woman. Nothing holds back my eternal aging quite like this woman that I love. And it's like, well, I'm glad somebody is helping you with your autistic fixation and that you guys have found some weird, like, bonding with it, you know? She's probably getting money and a fancy lifestyle out of it. Okay, here's the thing. Do you think he just found a working class woman on the street and decided to start examining the microbiome of her vaginal walls? No, man. No, okay? The wealthy date the wealthy. If you think this Kate girl is some poor pauper from the streets, you're grossly misunderstanding Brian Johnson and the world writ large, you know? I don't know where this man sources his goods. Where do you think he sources his coochie? Erewhon? I think he goes to Erewhon. Oh shit. But yeah, that's my little aside about Mr. Johnson over here. I gotta be honest, he has some of the funniest tweets. All right, it's like something like horrifying where he's like, "I've been measuring my adult son's erection." Okay, and then it's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Yes, I will take one of their organs." It's like, okay, that's a little crazy, man. But then it'll be that, and then it'll be like, I have decided to start taking blood transfusions in order to have my skin maintain its complexion. It's like, okay. Okay, man. Anyway, we're gonna read the review from r/piece of shit book club about Age of Scorpius. Today is not about Brian Johnson. Today is about Age of Scorpius. If you were here for last stream, you know what this is about. But for those of you that weren't here, I'm going to give you a little TLDW in case you don't want to go back and listen to me bitch about my internet before the stream crashes because my internet went out because I live on fucking country bumpkin dial-up internet that runs on fucking cow fucking farts and makes me miserable. So, yeah, Age of Scorpius is created by this individual named Audra Winters. Audra started writing this when he was 12. Audra's trans, he, him, but doesn't really present as such, but he, him pronouns. And the book is essentially a YA high fantasy novel about whatchamacallit. Not star signs, the other one. I keep mixing up the two. Your horoscope? No, that's not the word. Sorry, I should know this. I should know this. It's the other one. This happened last stream. Anyway, the book is like a high fantasy YA novel. Zodiac sign, thank you, Pinker. Yeah, but basically, yes, it's a magic system based on your zodiac sign. And what happened is Milo, his book went viral on Twitter. Not on Twitter, on TikTok. Sorry, nobody gives a fuck about Twitter anymore. So it went viral on TikTok. People were really hyped for it. And then it turned out to be what many people call a scam. I wouldn't classify it as a scam. I think being an awful book does not make it a scam, right? Like, this would be a scam if the book never appeared in your hands. You know what I mean? This is like it's just a bad book. And Milo responded to this in two ways. One of the ways is actually bemoaning the criticizers of the book and saying that they're transphobic and various other things. And then, you know, also that the criticism is unwarranted and their life is being ruined and all that stuff. And to really put into perspective here, Milo started writing this book series when he was 12 and finished it at about 22, 23, give or take. The thing here is that, and I said this last stream, Aragon is an anomaly, and I do feel that the Aragon books are the product of more than just the hands of a teenager who wrote it. And then also, if you have ever read YA fiction and you have read Aragon, I think we are in agreement that Aragon is not very good. It just isn't. I'm sorry. Not that I think very highly of most YA fiction, but I think on the bad side of things, Aragon represents more of the problems with the genre rather than... I say genre, but I don't even feel like YA fantasy is like a... It feels almost a little too wide of a berth there. But yeah, how young was the author? So Aragon's author was 16, give or take. But this author is saying that he started writing the book when he was 12 and finished it at 22. There's like a lot of like, maybe they were working on it, maybe they were just world building the universe. I think world building is a fun hobby, but not every world you build is going to be something that you want to like give to the public, you know what I mean? But yeah, this is like a rewrite of a book that they published originally when they were 14. So there is a version of this from before this all started that got out there, right? The only praise I ever hear about Aragon is that the author was 16. Yeah, and I think that should be very telling. Anyway, let's read this review from the Redditors as I take all their Reddit karma. Anyway, let me enhance the image here. There we go. That's right, I got a physical copy of this elusive book. It even came with a fancy bookmark you see on the right. The novel is... that's the novel's MacGuffin, the Colexis sword. If nothing else, the presentation of the novel is very top-notch. The artwork and the fancy bookmark are things other self-published can only dream of getting. That's true. I agree with that. A lot of the money was clearly sunk into this book. It's such a shame that the presentation was wasted on a novel as dreadful as The Age of Scorpius. For clarification, since its release, the author has come out as transgender, going by the name Milo. Sometimes people say Milo Winter, while others still use Milo Prater. Due to a recent release of his book of poetry, Afterlife, which has also been getting raked over the coals by readers, for the sake of brevity and to alleviate confusion, I'll just use Milo when referring to the author during my review. And then they're explaining that a Luddite and blah, blah, blah. Now I have it, and it gets to join my bad book collection. Welcome to my obscure and eclectic collection of literature, Milo. God. So they basically go on to tell the story of what happens next. It all began back in 2021 when Milo put out a TikTok video talking about the book he'd been working on since he was a kid. The video trended in the algorithm. People rallied behind him. More videos were put together hyping it up. A studio based around the world of Guardian, a fantasy realm where the story takes place in, was founded. An editor who worked on the Hunger Games supposedly bought in. And Milo hyped it up as it being the next big multimedia franchise. That's an insane thing. That's insane. I think it's okay to have those delusions of vanity every now and again, but let's be real here, man. Obviously, like, we gotta be a little bit more well-mannered about this sort of thing, I think. It was doing so well, it had 6,000 pre-orders. God damn, I hope I get to live in a universe like that. What the fuck? That's pretty impressive for a published, self-published debut novel. Yeah, that's also very horrifying. Let's see. Fast forward to 2025 to book releases. The reception is terrible, and readers feel duped by the marketing and hype. Milo reacts badly to the critique, reviews are deleted, and critical comments are deleted. Just inspires greater criticism and pushback. Then Milo seems to have a change of heart, puts up a Patreon, promises to release a revised second edition coming spring 2026. This book took a decade to make, and now you're like, I'm going to re-edit the entire book in almost a quarter of that time. More drama ensues on Patreon. Milo comes out as transgender. There's a change in community managers. Promises to backers were missed. Milo moved to Finland. What? Orders of the first edition were not being sent out. The company is scaled back. The second edition release date is canceled. And now backers have to apply for a refund, which will reportedly take time. It's currently unknown if a second edition will happen. All right. Anyway, nonetheless, Milo's earned a similar distinction of 2020's and should serve as a warning to aspiring authors. The story takes place in the world of Guardian, which is divided into 4 sections based on zodiac signs and their respective abilities. We divided to function as one society. Conviction for leadership. Wow, okay. I love YA fiction when it does this stuff, because I feel like YA fiction has been constantly living in the shadow of Harry Potter since its inception, and Hunger Games only exacerbated that issue, right? Because the Sorting Hat, like I said last stream, is like a really good tool for marketing, and then Hunger Games did that and like did okay with it, and then you had Divergent, and then you had a billion other things, and it just kept going on and on and on. And now you'd be hard-pressed to find a YA dystopian fantasy novel that doesn't have one of these features, okay? They always have a subdivided one-world government where people are arbitrarily placed into categories based upon innumerable ephemeral traits that have no real bearing to the function of a society at large, okay? Divergent is really funny because I might be completely wrong about this. I had sat down with everyone to watch the first Divergent movie not too long ago, and someone told me that the Divergent books take place in a universe that like the apocalypse is actually a lie, and it turns out everybody is actually like test subjects in some like Ubermensch test study from some secret billionaire. But I don't know if that's true. You were there, Ash. Is that like a thing that we talked about, or was that like a cutting room floor thing? Or did the author of Divergent and the book series say that that was part of it? So the Matrix kinda, but more like Evil Within. That is what I was told, but I don't know if I'm just aping it. KJ looked it up, if I recall correctly, or Cat. Yeah. Let's see. So here the society. Conviction for leadership, fire, and law. So you got the Scorpios, the Aries, and the Libras. The studious for sustenance, knowledge, and protection. The Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. The Etheric for water, healing, and travel. Cancer, Pisces, and Sagittarius. And societal for light, magic, and art. Leo, Aquarius, and Gemini. I want to read a copy of this book now, actually. The story begins with 18-year-old Reika Spring, a Scorpio who had a lifelong fascination with the history of Guardian, trying to piece its history back together. It's a blur of reality, myth, and propaganda. So trying to get true answers is of great interest. I feel like dystopian fiction is a really hard thing to write well, one, and then I feel like a young person specifically struggles with dystopian fiction, okay? Diesel, we should book club this. I'm gonna have to spend my free time now to read Age of Scorpius. A book that nobody can get because the author turned tail and ran. Yeah, Guardian is just Guardian. Yeah, it's just pronounced Guardian. So trying to get the true answers is of great interest. She lives in Conviction Woods, a strange place where few are able to inhabit, as the woods prefer to kill those who wander in. They're not even allowed to be in this space. Dad was not supposed to be anywhere near Conviction Woods. In fact, Dad, living in Conviction territory as an Arturian, was equally as dangerous as me breaking the code, though he mostly used his house in the woods as his safe haven from the law. He traveled in between Arturian and Conviction territory to support us using his skills as a water mage with the Arturian Stellarium. Oh, is this what it feels like reading a... I feel like I'm reading like the synopsis of a really complicated and high fantasy novel. You know, I started reading Empire of Silence. That's another one that I have. You got to understand, when you have ADHD, you kind of like read books in small chunks a little at a time and you switch back and forth. But one thing that Empire of Silence doesn't do, at the very least, is that it doesn't throw gobbledygook words as frequently. Even with Dune, right? Is last stream mandatory reading? No. No. We are reviewing a bad book. This is a bad book that a TikToker freaked out about, okay? But, you know, the thing is, oh shit, the stream hasn't crashed? Okay, I just started, but... When you can't have too much prose with too many proper fictional nouns. Dune has a glossary, doesn't it? Yes, Dune has a glossary. Dune also provides you with footnotes when you read it. Or at least my copy of Dune has footnotes, so I don't need to like travel as much for words. And also, like, you know, you kind of understand the words in Dune. I know Dune has reached like very popular status, but like when you read the book, there's a lot more words that just don't get used as frequently. But it's not as confusing as you think it is. It is dense prose, it is not hard. My friend sent me Dune in a pack of highlighters. Well, that's crazy. That's just trying to terrify you, honestly. What is the code, you might ask? The Scorpio Code, which seems to have a stranglehold over the land, with its first rule being never show emotion. See what I mean? Where it's like these are like crazy standards that a fictional universe gives its characters. Like what kind of... You need such a very like strong government. This is like a 1984 level situation. They have this stranglehold. Yet other zodiac signs don't seem to be governed by this first rule, just Scorpio. So Reika has to learn since childhood to never show emotions away from family. In this deadly place, she lives with her half-sister, Ava, an Aries border guard, her mother, a Scorpio and shapeshifter, who seems to prefer Ava and refuses to tell Reika about her real father, and her stepfather, a Cancer, who adores her and encourages her curiosity. I mainly read a lot of YA fantasy, but it leans more towards psychological horror. I feel like the psychological horror stuff is something that would resonate a lot better with a younger audience, too. I think the people who resonate with YA fantasy dystopian fiction are people who feel... I don't know, like if you feel like you were bullied, maybe you you move towards that genre of fiction more because you can relate, or maybe like the systemic parts of it you feel like relation to. I'm taking guesses here, okay? I don't know. Why was her mother only described by her powers but not the sister or stepdad? This is a review I'm reading, so those might be the most, like, important character traits for these people. They all live under one roof, despite the parents' marriage being technically illegal under the laws of the land, by reason Milo never really explains properly. This is just the start of many confusing aspects to the world and lore building. Mom and Dad's relationship directly broke the union law, a law consistent across all unions to only marry within your union. Said to keep the order within Guardian and maintain responsibility between the signs and their contribution to the functioning of the world. The Union law was older than the Scorpio Code, in place for the entirety of Guardian's history. Dad got around that one by spending copious amounts of time in a Thorin territory when he wasn't with us. I mean, you know, do I need to know what the law says? I don't think I need to know what the law says to know that it's like illegal, so that's bad. The mother doesn't get a name for the whole book. Well, that's a problem. That's not good. That's crazy. What the fuck? How does he get around this? Wouldn't there be a paper trail of records regarding such a marriage? I would imagine it would be harder to get away with something like this in a fantasy realm, which has several magical powers being used throughout. Too many, in fact, within this novel. Since the novel wants to portray the iron fist of oppressive government, wouldn't it make more sense to closely monitor the citizens, including whom they marry? After all, this government has strict guidelines for which signs can even interact with one another. Why would they not keep tabs on something like this? Just because he spends his time traveling doesn't negate the fact his marriage is illegal under the laws of the land, regardless of which region he's in. Why not arrange marriages as dictated by the government? Why am I doing all the work Milo should have thought of? Back to the story, there's more confusing nonsense to untangle. Reika also has the powers of shapeshifting, albeit not much of anything interesting in the way of shapeshifting. I had a few substances which I had learned to morph over the years. Fabric, sand, and metal were the textures I could barely change. It still managed to save us the effort of buying more clothes, especially with Mom's shapeshifting too. As of late, Reika has been studying the runes of an arch from the War of Rebalancing in the Assidious region. It has been of great interest as it is written in the dead language of the ancient Driscoll. God damn. Is this what it feels like reading? When I write stuff, I try not to have too much fucking proper noun fantasy babble or science techno babble, because it all sounds like goo goo gaga goo goo gaga. The best book series is Warrior Cats. We all know. That's crazy. Warrior Cats goes crazy, dude. Warrior Cats girls in elementary school turn into horse girl high schoolers. And then the real scary ones are the ones that turn into horse girl university students. When I was at game design school, we had a major in horse studies. I don't know necessarily what it's called, the mayorology or whatever. This book is set on Earth as well, by the way. Damn. Or it just call it something like O Earth or something, or give it like a doo-doo caca name that's not like a planet. There's a horse major. Well, the school went bankrupt, so take of that what you will. Ponyology, yeah, ponyology. O Earth, A Earth. It's not horseology. There's an actual word for this. It's not horseology. Equine science. Thank you. Yes, it was equine studies. You could be an equine studies major, or you could do what I did and be a game design major. But I would occasionally interact with the equine studies people. Very double overlap here between the equine studies majors and the softball players. Take of that what you will. I will not elaborate, but I will allow that to fill your mind with whatever awful things you want. As of late, Reika has been studying the runes from the War of Rebalancing at Driscoll, despite studying several scrolls. She cannot read the runes. In the meantime, she and her sister are prepping for a ceremony. They'll feature them along with a third person, a Libra named Chase, from the ceremony master herself. Lesbian horse lovers. Dude, that's a great anime, lesbian horse lovers. Today we gather to induct these 3 individuals into their rightful positions as official members of Guardian. They have become honorable members through their training, education, and careers to learn their sign's place in our society. Upon completion of the ceremony, they will become fully subject to any laws by all sectors of the Stellarium. This happening on Earth is crazy. At least for like when I was making like the D&D source book, you need to like have a name for the plane of existence that you're on.
Do you think 3 Days Grace knows that their songs about crippling drug addiction became the soundtrack to animated cats fighting?
Maybe. You know, the Bring Me the Horizon guys know about all the Giga Chat edits, so probably. But when I was doing the like the world building stuff, like the really fundamental stuff, like what's the world's name, I was like desperately trying to figure out what the plane would be called. And I did come up with a name, and it's like Ecumene, but it never ever comes up for like most things because it's not something that like people talk about all that much. So I just need it there for the sake of like, oh, we need it just in case we're talking about like the religions, right? But otherwise that never comes up. And another thing, just in case you're all curious, this is how fucking creatively bankrupt I am. Ecumene is just like fucking old Greek for Earth. So, but it sounds fancy. It sounds fantasy. And it also, the phonics of it sounds okay, right? If you have like words that don't have any like phonetical or like the phonemes sound weird together, it makes the entire word like really difficult to read, right? And at least with Dune, when you read Dune, like you'll have a section in the back of the book that explains how to pronounce these words in your head, right? But when I read Drixal, I'm like trying to like work it through in my head, and it's like completely slowing me down because I don't know how to pronounce it, right? And when I'm reading it, I'm like, I don't know what I'm reading. Things start to go awry, however, when each person is asked to state their name, occupation, and place of residence. Upon learning that the siblings are illegally living together, they are made to separate, with Reika being sent to live at the exchange center in a place called The Hub. The Driscoll? Oh, Driscolls? We got a bunch of... It's like a free run with the random German words. Yeah. You know what's really funny? You know, I found out what Alucard's name is recently because I've been doing some like research and stuff about vampires. So Alucard's name is Adrian F. Tepish, right? Because he's Dracula's son. Sorry, spoiler alert for a fucking 20-year-old game. You want to know what the F stands for in Adrian F. Tepish? Fahrenheit. Alucard's middle name is Fahrenheit, okay? And the only reason that they gave Alucard the middle name Fahrenheit is because it sounds cool. All right? I'd be lying if I didn't say it sounds cool as fuck to have a vampire named Fahrenheit. That's stupid. No, you don't know how to have fun. You don't know how to have fun. If you don't think a vampire called Fahrenheit is cool as fuck, you're missing out, man. That's super sick. I think it's just as funny to have a character named Fahrenheit as it would be to have a character named Celsius. Okay? I'm sorry. It is so stupid, but it's like done with like it's so confident too. It's like one of those like really stupid confident names, right? Like Kojima's really good at this where he does like a Die Hard Man, Dead Man, Hartman. There's a lot of mans. Mama. Like your name is your job. Fortune is another one where it's because she's so lucky. Or the vampire in Metal Gear Solid is named Vamp. How is it cool? That's like saying Ozempic is a cool name. No, Ozempic is too. See, Ozempic is tied to like that's a brand name. Celsius is like, I know it's a drink, but like it's just the word for how you describe temperature. Fragile, tomorrow, dead man. Yeah, dude, fragile is so good because fragile is pronounced like 3 different ways, and you always know if they're talking about the person, the descriptor of an object. Jinx is another one. Come on. You don't need to make your characters' names, is what I'm saying, is you don't need to make everybody's names Reka Strange Heart or Chase Coldburn, right? You don't need to do that. They could just be fucking Tomorrow, okay? You could literally just name someone Tomorrow. The Dung Eater. I mean, that's a title, but also he's way worse than just a guy who eats poop. Ozempic. Ophelia Grimm. That one is pretty bad, yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of different mech related ones have like a call signs like thing. Lancer also has a call sign one as well. Or I also was exploring Vampire Hunter D recently. And I saw the Dungeon Chill video. I don't know if you guys have ever watched them, but in the English translation of the Vampire Hunter D movie, so D is a Dampier. We all know what a Dampier is. But originally when they translated D to English, D ended up being a Dampier or a Dunpeel, right? So they had pronounced it wrong because the Japanese word for Dampier is like Dunpeel, right? And so it just sounds like Dunpeel when you say it in English based on the way that you write the grammar. So they ended up accidentally calling Dampiers in Vampire Hunter D Dunpeels. Anyway, that's a fun little. You can use that at fucking game night trivia or something. I don't know. But Dunpeel is spelt like Dunpeal. All right, so they're all separated. She goes to the hub, place right smack dab in the middle of Guardian, where all 4 regions meet. Hey, this is kind of weird because this is just like Divergent, actually.
I like Blood because the guy who kills God and takes his power is just Caleb. Imagine fearing a Caleb.
See, but Caleb also sounds biblical, right? Like, so that's why it works for Blood, right? It's like Cain and Abel, Caleb, right? Cain, Abel, and Caleb. It makes sense. It makes sense, right? It sounds biblical. All 3 are given cloaks, indicating their signs. During the feast afterwards, the sisters speak with Chase, who turns out to live and work in the exchange center, where Reika will now be living. Chase offers to help her find a room to stay in, which makes her suspicious of him. Yeah, the 3rd brother everybody forgot about. Was he flirting with me, or just being friendly? Or flat out stupid for not hearing the ceremony master say I couldn't live with anyone else? I couldn't tell. Regardless, I didn't like any of the options. Despite her mistrust, she trusts him to walk her over to the hub, where they have awkward chit-chat and their differing personalities start to clash. I just figured they do have biblical names, but biblical names are very common. Yeah, but it wouldn't feel the same if his name was like Joseph. I guess Abraham could work, but Abraham's too long, right? That's like I'm trying to go through. I'm trying to put you in the mind of somebody who would be writing the story for Blood. I just figured, never really asked one of you. And the long walk, you know? He trailed off before gesturing to his face with a smile. I mean, with the whole code, does fun exist in your vocabulary? Perhaps I explore. You explore what? Is exploring fun for you? Oh my God, if only he would shut up. I traverse and study the regions surrounding the trail. So formal. Sounds like it could be fun, he huffed. I do messenger's work. I think it's fun sometimes. It does not sound fun. Neither does aimlessly walking around alone on the trail. Uh, we gotta dispassionately not interested in each other kind of start. Demon King Howie. No, we're not doing that. Riveting dialogue. There's more awkward chit chat before Reika speaks of the arch she's been researching as they continue walking to get near the hub. A thought suddenly crosses her mind. She can't reach to see the runes on the upper part of the arch. He was tall. Conveniently tall. That's fucking... Just say he was tall. What does it mean to be conveniently tall? He was tall. Tall in that way that lets him reach the top shelf of the grocery store aisle without calling over an employee. Like... Yeah, being called conveniently tall is very strange. Yeah, that's how my coworkers talk about me when someone needs to change a light bulb. Yeah, I don't understand what the implications of that are. Yeah. Just say he was tall. 6'4", maybe 6'5", with arms that look like they could reach the top of the arch. Okay, just say he was tall with arms that look like they could reach the top of the arch. Like, I don't need to know his height. You know, it's like one of those things where it's like, just say less. Just say less. How many arches have you passed in your times on the trail? Me, an American, going down the Appalachian Trail, passing my 10th McDonald's? Explaining hiking to an American. How many McDonald's did you pass? How many arches did you pass? How many arches did you pass in your time on a trail? His eyes lit up at my question. Not too many. At least not many historical arches, if you will. I barely stopped myself from snapping back at him. It is the largest arch I have ever charted thus far. If you're inquisitive, I would greatly appreciate your time and company in the following days for the duration of my travel. This person talks like they're a computer, but not in the AI way, and like they're like this AI assistant in a video game kind of way. Why are there arches on the trail? The arches are related to the former war. So the arches are related to like a pre-Guardian world ancient war. But Reika can't read those. She only understands that they are from that time. America is wild. Yeah. Did you just invite me to explore with you? That's a change, he said with a smile. To answer your very ominous question, sure. I work tomorrow, but the day after I'm off, I don't have any plans. The living arrangement is set up for Reika, and she meets Chase's friend, Robin. She then goes to sleep, ending a dull chapter on confusing exposition. The next day, she meets up with her sister in the hub. During the conversation and gossip, they overhear commotion and see the Stellarium officials chasing a teenage Scorpio boy. As the officials deal with the Scorpio, a Gemini boy comes out and gives the Scorpio boy a kiss before being shoved back by the officials. He tries to grab hold of a Scorpio, but to no avail. As a Scorpio is dragged away to be executed while his lover watches helplessly, he says something unexpected to Reika. Whoa, dude kissed a guy and is... So, like, here's why this entire system would fall apart. Imagine you have a society built of mages, okay? Imagine you have a universe where everybody has magical powers, or can learn magical powers, or can get hybrid magical powers from illegal marriages. And then you see a young person executed in the street in cold blood. What, you don't even need to pick up a sword or gun. You could just start shooting stuff. There's no way that this entire government would stay functional. I know I'm doing... I feel like it gets annoying when people are like kind of, you know, chastising a world, but like the internal functioning of the world feels like this is exactly the thing that would lead to like a popular uprising, you know? What if they had power... Yeah, power dampening force fields. What if they had power dampening force fields? You know what? I forgot to fucking make a goal. I'm gonna make a goal right now, and the goal is gonna be hold on. Cringe dampening force fields. I hate it when I go to make a goal now and it just doesn't work because my fucking computer is just like, I don't want to do that. Okay, sure. Don't do that. That's fine. It's crazy too. I can see it like blinking on my end where it's like not. It's like I don't know, I can't do it. Okay, fine. Don't do it. Whatever. Who gives a shit? I don't need to do it. Annoying that happens, but whatever. Let's see. Something unexpected. Reika, he said as tears streamed down his face. Thank you, Reika. He knew my name, but I didn't know his. She realizes that she knows this boy, but that she doesn't know from where or why. She's left to ponder this peculiar and tragic situation. This, however, is merely the start of Reika unlocking memories that seem to have been wiped from her mind. The next day of the trip to the Arch, but Reika is still thinking about the Scorpio boy from the previous day and reflects on the political system that governs Guardian. I distracted myself by observing a post in front of the Stellarium building. The board listed all 12 signs in order of power. Scorpio... Oh, and we have like a hierarchical system of power? That's not good. That's not good. Scorpio, Aries, Libra, Cancer, Gemini, Aquarius, Pisces, Virgo, Taurus, Leo, Capricorn, and then Sagittarius. Scorpio and Aries had am I stupid? I am stupid. Their Arctura status over Guardian for as long as I had lived. The Arcturas held the most power over introducing and influencing new laws, with the leader vote counting as 2 instead of 1. So Scorpio and Aries have equal voting power, but then there's a vote splitter between the 3 of them, so it's like a 3-person autocracy. Yeah, I'm reading a summary. God, yeah, I'm reading a summary. Our streamer is stupid. So true. Let's see. Spoiler, all the important characters are at the top. Yeah, no shit. Not surprising. Oh man, in order to break these wheels of power, we must have someone from the system of power. Wouldn't it not be more thematically prescient to have the one that upends the system that is be from the lowest rung of the ladder? Someone who's a Scorpio coming to power and upending this system is just a new Scorpio in power at the top of the ladder. Just because you say you're going to be a more righteous leader does not mean you will be a more righteous leader. You know, in my dictatorship, I'll be the one who does it correctly. I won't do any of these bad things that these other dictators did. I'll be different. Milo never provides a good explanation for this power dynamic among the zodiac signs. Sure, there's some mythology about certain figures and their signs, but the reader never really fully grasps how this works. Why did everyone just seem to take this as gospel and roll with it? Why do Scorpio and Aries officials count as 2 votes? I don't need to know everything about how a political system works, but the basic gist would be nice. Instead, the reader is left with a garbled mess of flimsy historical context. I curled my lip. The post was simply another reminder of how our identities were shaped through an energetic connection between birthday and magic. As soon as we entered the world, it laid out our future within seconds, determining where we would live and who we could love. Kind of like society, you know? Society of which we live in. We live in a society, you could say. The Chud version of this is Asmongold saying that bad RNG for his fucking dipshit, ugly, fucking dirty mansion. With our sign came our power. Certain types were common among other different signs, determined by the magic of our parents and how common it was in our sign. Age of Scorpius ends up poking a bunch of holes into the system. Characters throughout the novel seem to develop or discover abilities at the drop of a hat. The system doesn't seem to do a very good job of dictating where people live. If Reika and her family are anything to go by, what with the illegal marriage of the parents and the siblings and the signs living together? The novel also tries to take a stab at gay relationships in the fantasy realm, indicating that such unions are frowned upon due to no procreation. But nothing of substance is done with this. It also makes less sense since Libras are apparently allowed to have as much casual sex as they want, even if it means children from multiple signs are born as a result. Meanwhile, other signs are not really permitted such perks. For a society that seems to be governed so impressively, rules seem to be rather lax or over the top regarding marriage, relationships, and sex. This just seems like something that would cause instability if you're trying to rigidly control the lives of your citizens. The goon sign. We know which one I want, guys. Then again, what do I know? I'm just some guy trying to decipher this mess of a book after the book talk drama Fallout. I shouldn't be trying to piece this back together to make sense of it. It was supposed to be Milo's job. Anyway, Reika and Chase abscond to the Arch, where it turns out Chase can actually read the runes written in dead language of the ancient Driscoll. Something he apparently didn't know up until that point. He also knows that the runes look similar to runes he saw on the 6th floor of the Exchange Center when he was there yesterday at the behest of Ares Arctura Atlas Fulbright to retrieve a weapon. He even reads the runs aloud. Abscond is a good word, not gonna lie. Yeah, I love a good abscond. I like to have an abscond with my espresso in the morning, you know. Restore and revive by the balance of blood, call upon the cause of the Calexis. The symbol shimmers gold, and it makes a couple sounds from activating magic. It dissipates, however. We get another info dump about the Calexis. This is a homestuck word. The legend said the Calexis, a mythical sword of immortality, cursed anyone who touched it with immortality. It belongs to a tale taught in early education, meant to demonstrate the necessity of magical balance. This is... if I was an oppressive government, I would want to get my hands on the sword that makes me immortal, so I could rule it forever. Matthias Merrick, a man sent by the god of the sun, saved Guardian by transferring the all-too-powerful magic of immortality into Calexis. When Matthias' son, Silas, fell into temptation and touched the tip of the sword. Dude, Silas is such a D&D character OC name. The gods cursed him to suffer through the lonely, infinite life, a punishment for ignoring the holy orders and neglecting the magical balance. Yes, I know humanity has done many a story about why living forever would be bad. But let's think about all the ways that living forever would be super fucking awesome. Especially if I'm a psychopath who wants to rule the world. Milo said, what if I wrote a self-insert character for a book about everyone hating every aspect about her and how she's a victim, and then literally became the person everyone dislikes IRL? Careful, guys. You might get the Colexus sword. But immortality is also very scary on an existential level. So is fucking dying. So is fucking dying. Yeah, you could paint a lot of minis with eternity. That's true. Reika now wants to get up to the 6th floor and take a look at the runes. Chase is hesitant, but he goes on and goes along with it. He convinces his friend Robin to let them use the key again upon getting there. Sure enough, the symbols are like the symbols on the arch, and the duo soon realizes someone has seen them, and they are aware of the intrusion to this room. This leads to a fight with the cloaked figure. As he fights them, Chase curiously says, "What did I do wrong?" Enter the room without permission. You also entered a room that turns out to have a top secret information without permission. Did you think those in charge would be pissed about this if they found out? During the fight, Reika receives a knife wound and is knocked to the ground, where she comes in contact with a rune on the lower level of the wall that glows to her touch. She pushes it. It turns out to be a secret portal that she and Chase go through, leading to a secret room. The attackers are unable to get in. In defeat, one of the other attackers utters a phrase to this companion in the most dreadful to Reika's ears. Now, tell everyone you know to notify Arctura Verena. Notify the Arctura. Notify the Arctura. In 5 minutes, all the previous attempts at hiding from the Stellarium were negated. In a series of many twists throughout the novel, Reika comes to discover an ability that Chase had not disclosed previously. He is a Librian healer. This is learned after he heals her injuries rather than being grateful if perplexed. Reika instead angrily confronts him. God, all of these proper nouns are making me start to fucking... My brain is falling out of my ears. Pardon me, I started, if I can recall correctly. No, never mind. Fuck formality. I thought you said you were a dream seeker. Oh, he glanced down at his hands instead. I am, to get into other people's dreams, we summon the light. Liberal, liberal, liberal. Liberal, liberal, liberal. Is dream seeking similar to liberal healing? I accused him, keeping our interlocked gaze until he was visibly uncomfortable. Because as far as I know, dream seeking isn't a damn arch power. I'm sure this is a confusing mess as is, but I'll provide a glossary explanation for the arch powers. There are 3 original magic systems, all of which all form other magics evolved from. Primary powers that allow the user to access one or more additional magic systems. Basically, such people were almost eradicated or exiled due to the threat of the power that they be. The system basically wants people to have one set magical system, but as you can guess, there are others who turn out to have more than one power who are being hunted as a result. Alright, let's get back to the story. I'm sorry about the tangents, but this book is a mess. In this room, desk with scrolls and yada yada yada. Okay. One scroll from the War of Rebalancing, and it contains what could be rocks. What it contains could rock all of Guardian to the core. God, this is a lot to read. All right, this is the closest I've gotten to a Docky in a little bit. to the Athoran Stellarium. I am writing this document to the unpreventable injustice internally occurring within the Conviction Stellarium. We are experiencing a violation of human rights through the weaponization of religion. The gods will not be pleased. I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards. Blaine has fabricated and enacted a law underneath the title of the Scorpio Code. The Scorpio Code contains 3 tenets: never show emotion, never befriend, and never fall in love. Well, I can't imagine which 3 things Reika is going to commit over the course of the book series. Blaine claims to have located the scripture concealed within the Scorpio archive. His status as an adjunct to the Scorpio Stellarium allows him to establish validity in the discovery of his holy oath. Following Blaine's attribution of the lack of the code to the imbalance of the zodiac turners, the majority of the Scorpio's population has accepted the code. This law strips the right of choice from Scorpio individuals and thus encourages them to join the Stellarium. Despite losing the war, the Scorpio Stellarium will maintain their governmental influence and dictation of the economy. Never fall in love? Why? I don't know. Furthermore, I regret to inform you that Blaine inflicted himself with the Blade of Calexis. I predict he will manipulate the truth of the Calexis and its existence to preserve his power for an undeterminable amount of time. I have since regained possession of the Calexis, and it has been returned to the Nyx Mountains to prevent further damage to Guardian's magic systems. Sincerely, Silas Merrick. Basically, the code is a lie. What a twist! People took it as gospel, myth is reality, the truth has been distorted, and the answers lie with a magical MacGuffin. Why does this scroll still exist? The other thing in existence that could dismantle the code is the hidden MacGuffin that is guarded by a monster. Why wouldn't you just burn the scroll and destroy any proof that the Calexis exists? Unless someone finds that sword, defeats the monster, and comes out alive, no one will know about it, outside of certain characters who turn out to be immortals involved with this myth that turn up later in the novel. They, however, are either exiled or don't have sufficient power behind them to wreck the system. With this, Reika and Chase know that they've uncovered something that could dismantle the entire political system. This also means going on the run and having to find a sword. Along the way, they join forces with Reika's sister, Avia, and Kaya, the sister of the executed Scorpio boy from earlier seeking revenge. They'll also be pursued by a mysterious assassin named Nara that Reika recognizes, but doesn't know from where or when. I don't know of a way to put this other than these names all sound Caucasian as fuck, even though they're like fantasy names that are like not really based in much of anything. These people all sound very elvish, you know what I mean? This is feeling very elvish right now. This is some fucking pointy, knife-eared propaganda is what I'm saying. Let's see. But it doesn't know from where or when. New abilities will be discovered. Many coincidences and moments of stupid luck will occur. Tons and tons of info dumping will bury the reader. Memories are unlocked, and there will be some fight scenes. The protagonist fainting after using powers multiple times and more. Holy hell, this book is terrible. It's quite the chore to get through, even though it's not terribly long. Barring the glossary section, it's only 376 pages. It's a miserable slog of way too much exposition, shoddy world building, and boring characters. The exposition goes on and on and on and on. There's so much of it that the story actually never takes flight. It makes the exposition from J.M. Arnell's dreadful novel, The Crystal Keepers, seem nuanced and polished by comparison. Unlike Arnell's novel, which was laden with exposition that dove into set pieces instead of actual meaningful plot or character development, The Age of Scorpius feels like nothing but exposition. It actually increases further on into the novel rather than dialing it back. Something even other bad fantasy novels know to cap at a certain point. Not here, though. It's only in the final few chapters that the novel speeds up to a conclusion clumsily and stupidly. There'll be a great deal of plot convenience and stupid luck to be had. It also ends on a cliffhanger with sequel bait. There are back-to-back chapters that comprise almost nothing but exposition. It becomes maddening when it doesn't completely turn your mind into slush from boredom. The world building, while it has ideas, clearly is not thought through at all. This is made worse by how it's explained. It's not just boredom, but also confusion and trying to untangle it. It also fails the last vanguard for salvaging the characters. Almost no one is interesting. Reika is not only boring, but unlikable as a Mary Sue. Chase and Kaya are overly supportive best friends, who also have to double as Reika's therapist. I kid you not, there's almost an entire chapter of these two telling Reika it's not her fault when she accidentally uses magic on Chase during one of her nightmares. Ava is mostly there just to be snarky and mean, with little else. Nara is the closest thing to interesting, and she's Reika's girlfriend from before her memory was wiped. Nara being forced against her will to hunt down and kill Reika and her friends is the closest to interesting that the novel gets. Age of Scorpius is disastrous. A poorly written, poorly edited, and worst of all, boring book. If Milo ever completes the second edition, it's going to need a hell of a lot of work to even reach the status of mediocre, let alone something actually good. Do any of the characters have pots? That's a good question. I think that would improve it. Yeah, he started writing this at 10, and it sounds like he finished this at 10. Wow, what a review. That really, I feel like I got the broad strokes of the story, right? Like, we all got the broad strokes from that. They gotta go get the Calexis sword and yada, yada, yada. Get the MacGuffin, save the day. Anyway, let's see Milo's response to the drama, okay?
My name is Audra Winter. I am the author of this book. It was released about a month ago, and I have lived through the worst week of my life because of it, and the past week. And I just wanted to come on here and talk about it, and be genuine, and express the things that I have been through in the past week, because I am literally living through my worst nightmare and my biggest heartbreak. If you're not familiar, I have spent a very long time working on this world that I started building when I was 12, and I'm 22 now. And throughout that time, it is the only thing that has stayed consistent in my life. It is the only thing.
I think I said this last stream before my internet pooped out, but basically, like, you're using it as like a therapy crutch, which, like, you can just have writing for yourself. Like, I have like stuff that I write just for myself and only myself, and then I put it down and I go, that's it. And then I don't share it with, like, society, you know? And it's like, you are clearly, like, you've had, like, you moved around a lot as a child, you didn't probably have a lot of friends, you were very bookish, right? All that stuff. And as a result, this became the only stable thing in your life for as long as you've had formative memories. And as a result, you have tied too much of your self-worth to your creative work.
That I have been able.
Oh, one detail. Milo heavily wrote that Blaine, the big bad evil guy, essayed the main character's mom, which resulted in the main character. That is quite the twist. That is quite the twist. I feel like as a YA novel, maybe that's like we leave that one on the cutting room floor. You know? That's like a for the boys, not for Age of Scorpius, you know.
To lean on.
Can YA novels say the fuck word? I feel like a YA novel shouldn't say fuck either. That was weird.
Every single
the
night.
mom never got a name, but she did end up on the receiving end of the big bad evil guy.
And say, hey, at the end of the day, I have this, and I have these stories. And even if nobody else in the world likes it, I do. And I like telling these stories. Now, I hope that other people will like it, and I would love for it to bring the same joy to other people that it brought to me. And it means a lot to me. This is not just a hobby. It is a passion. It is quite literally my entire life now. As in, right now I'm sitting in my room. That is my bed next to me where I sleep, and right outside of there is my office.
Wow, that's a lot of book.
this is my desk that I write at. I have
You write in your room, not in your office? I mean, you know, it's about, you know, we need some mise en scène here. Everything needs to have its place, you know? I think maybe Age of Scorpius would be better if you wrote it in the office. It's your hyperfixation, girl, not ours. Yeah, so true.
no escape from this. And I don't need an escape from it because it does matter to me this much. This has been the thing in this world and these stories that when I have gone through the worst parts of my life, I could look over and say,
An office in this economy? Yeah, it must be fucking nice.
well, I have this. And I have this world. And I can't die yet before I publish this. And before other people can see it, because I've worked on it this much.
Can we classify that as a suicide bait? Because that felt like a bit of a suicide bait to me if it did not. You know, it's like I need this book to be successful and finish this, or I will die.
Like other people to enjoy it. I would like other people to share this world that has saved my life. It is bizarre.
They look like the foot guy who wrote the commentary hit piece. I wasn't sure if it was them until they spoke, and it just clicked how much alike they look. Yeah.
To see your will to live come alive in front of your eyes, and I started to see that back in April.
Oh my god, your will to live. Stop defining your self-worth as an artist solely by your work. It is one facet of you. All right? Obviously, artists, like, listen, man, to be like, you gotta, like, love the work you do if you make art, but you can't make it your sole portion of your being, because then you have nothing else, and that's not healthy.
When I put up a pre-order listing for this book, did not think I would sell more than 100 copies, quite honestly. And once again, I posted that pre-order listing, and it took off. I didn't know what to do. I was shocked. At this time, I had started to build like a team of artists, but it was informal at first because I was like, well, all these people are working on different things for the series, and I might as well put them in one group. And that is what I ended up doing with all the money that came in from this book. I ended up creating a studio, a whole creative studio with this, because
That's crazy.
I decided that I rather the artist that I
mean,
had,
like, that stuff is all cool. Like, all this aura farming is sick. But maybe a novel wasn't what you should have done, right? I don't know. Maybe like a comic or like a graphic novel or webtoon. Dude, it doesn't matter how fucking bad the writing is, dude. You make a webtoon, sometimes that shit does gangbusters, brother.
brought together, and the artists that I saw that were bonding over these stories that I had created, people who were falling in love with this world and with these characters as much as I did in the
Dude, oh my god. Is that Reika? Because this is like the second drawing of this person. If this is Reika, they're such a like a Shadow the Hedgehog OC type character.
beginning. And I thought that was beautiful. I had for the
Reika
first
is the daughter of the hatred guy.
time a sense of understanding. I've kind of gone my entire life having this as such a core fundamental part of me, and to be able to finally be recognized and let this become who I am was incredible. Even like getting on TikTok and talking about it, a lot of times I get a lot of comments that are like, how did you market it like this? And my
I was reading, Hal and I were reading it, right? So we were reading this like one where, and I know there's a lot of them like this, but it was like this simple woman who's kind of like older and in a loveless marriage with a younger man, and this like young mafia guy is like interested in her, and so he keeps trying to like make magic happen for her basically. And so it's like one of those mafia stories where like the boyfriend's bad and like the mafia guy is good and he sweeps her off her feet and he's really rich and yada 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 yada. But like one of the only defining characteristics aside from being like poor is that like the woman in question in this story had like a massive rack, and that was it. It's very by the numbers, but it's like so good because it's so over the top.
genuine answer to that is I don't know.
So I think the issue is that you shouldn't go broke on writing. Like my MO for making D&D content is I'm doing it anyway. Why not put it out there? This seems like, yeah, burn the ship. So yeah, absolutely.
I get on here and I talk about what I've done to get to this point and the different things that I love about it. It carried me far enough to get that many sales and to get that many. And I had the sense of understanding that I had never felt in my life before. And it was moving. It was shocking. It was moving. It was...
The mafia
amount of
man was
emotions
also
that
conveniently tall. So was the fucking asshole husband.
I was just thrown into in a short period of time, from the time that I listed that pre-order and the time that I established an LLC was 2 weeks. All of a sudden I was going into attorneys and I was like, what do I do? Like, I was not expecting this to happen. And I think I want to build a business off of this. Like, I want to keep being an entrepreneur. I want to put everything that I have, now that I have this, let's put it into this, because this is what I want to.
I think you shouldn't hedge a bet so strongly. I think you shouldn't hedge a bet so strongly. I think that'll fuck you really bad. I would know. I'm that guy too. You know, I think a lot of people are that person, especially if they're a creative person. You know. So I resonate with that, but it's like, in hindsight, yeah, you probably should keep it as like a side thing until you're like dead set and certain. A working artist is very different from like somebody who's like paid for by a bazillionaire, okay? The days of being a Stephen King where you pop out Carrie and then your career is started and set are not those days anymore. You need to be able... I mean, Jesus Christ, Brandon Sanderson is fucking loaded as hell, but he still teaches. I don't...
my life around. I ended up in late June, early July, packing and shipping.
Yeah, Milo tried to use Brandon Sanderson as an example of like writing and becoming a whole universe in business. But again, it's like Brandon Sanderson doesn't even just do one thing. He's like fucking tenure. He obviously is very wealthy from the books he's done and the worlds he's created. But like a lot of writers do two things, right? Like a lot of books that I'll read, I find out the author is like a professor of writing at this university, or like they also do copywriting, or they also do this, or they also do that. So they always do something else too.
And signing 5,000 books with a very small team, literally with my parents and 3 other people. Sarah, if you're watching this, I really appreciate you.
Well, yeah, you need to be talented like Brandon Sanderson. But I think for at least writing or like making worlds, you can gain that. But like I said last stream, you need to like read books. That IMO is the death of the artist. They don't think of themselves as entrepreneurs, and this mentality might actually be an albatross around your neck because this isn't a good headspace for creativity. It isn't.
Have experienced more fear than I ever have in my entire life. That fear, I mean, surrounded the fact that I had put every single thing in me into this book.
Up to this point, I wrote multiple books. I had beta readers. I was in critique groups. I have completed a creative writing minor. I mean, that's nothing, really. I've attended conferences. A lot of... yeah, that's nothing. I've written every single day since I was 12. I've been contracted by a literary agency and worked with developmental editors there. I made the choice to go independent when my literary agency dropped all their sci-fi fantasy writers. I could have found a new agent, but I was ready to share my story. There is something to be said where it's like, you know, he was obviously like working in the industry under other writers, but the bottom fell out. And so it's like when the bottom falls out, you might as well just full send on crazy stuff, right? Because it's either that or you jump off a bridge. Yeah, you gotta reel it back. Yeah, it's like it's not even like you... like Milo didn't make the choice. The choice was kind of made. I could have found a new agent, but I was ready to share my story. I then hired 2 skilled industry editors, both developmental copy. I listened. I spent hours revising and changing. I wrote pages upon pages of changes from editorial notes. I got a call with my editor. I discussed them. I changed more. I looked at and incorporated my copy editor suggestions. I paid 2 proofreaders to proofread. I proofread. I had a team that loved it, that understood. I marketed that I wanted to break away from the industry I felt trapped under. I wrote different. I wrote different. I wrote to tell a story. I wrote as an art. You did not write different. Yeah, I could have found a new agent. Yeah, okay. He also later lied and said he dropped the agent because of integrity. Why? You really should. I mean, not everybody needs an agent, and I see a lot of conflicting information on this, but if you have one, you know, what are you doing? Milo didn't want to be a writer. He hired like 10 artists to fill the book with art and asked for advice on what he should even write. See, it's like the person who wants to be famous but has no story to tell versus the person who has a story to tell. And there's a lot more people who, and I get why people want to be famous. Think about it. You get to fucking have income stability, be separated from the 9-to-5 rat race, don't have to deal with the rigmarole of work day to day, and people get to fucking respect you and compliment you nonstop. Yeah, that fucking is amazing. And who the fuck wouldn't want that? But, you know, in the same breath, you also have to have like something to say, especially if it's going to be a creative thing. I think any fame I have gotten has been completely unjustified. I will say so for myself. Niche internet micro celebrity or not.
Every single thing. And it is terrifying to ship 5,000 of these out to that many people at once, all receiving this highly anticipated, talked about thing. I've been on TikTok since 2018. I was there for hit or miss. I know that
I was there for hit or miss. In 2018, you were fucking eating goldfish and doing 2 + 2. I don't really know what that doesn't really mean anything.
A lot of times, especially with like certain medias and creative avenues, it takes one negative video to spin it out of control. I actually had to go back to Kansas because I was becoming so unhealthy. I wasn't eating, and quite honestly, I'm still not.
Yeah, I don't want to be famous. I just want to be rich. Yeah, it's not that people want to be famous. The heart of the issue is that they want to not be worried about their bills, and the concept of being rich is really appealing in that regard.
Parents, because they were concerned about me. Everybody else was concerned about me because everybody in my personal circle knows that this is like everything to me. A couple days ago, I was up early and I was scrolling through my For You page. I unfortunately came across a video of another author talking about me. I felt something change in me that moment. The amount of like heart dropping that I felt while watching that video will stick with me forever. And I opened these comments and there's tons of people all going, I was worried about this video was about me until you said these numbers. I just sat there for a little bit and went,
okay, this section is a lie. This is he's just making this shit up.
How can you say that?
He's lying. The video wasn't even aimed at him. Oh boy.
You were worried that it would be you. And then
the author didn't name him or Age of Scorpius. Can we get this video? Can you guys all know what this is except for me?
Proceed to turn around and say that about another.
Yeah, I want to be an artist with a few respectful but rich fans that finance my life and my stupid art. No hype. Yeah. Who the fuck doesn't want a rich, like, Medici patron to let you draw your fucking furry smut, you know?
Author. When I saw that video, I closed out the app and I went to my studio space and I said I'm fucked. Up until this point, I had very positive reader reception. I was staying aware of what people were saying and it was way more positive than negative. When I saw this video and I saw the things that were being said, I knew, and literally within hours, I was getting dozens of comments.
It's a lie.
With
oh boy,
pure hatred. Literally hearing some of the hardest things that I've ever been told in my life.
I will say, I do think the TikTok audience is a bunch of fucking drooling, mouth breathing fucking morons, you know.
Hearing from lots of people that
Every review has been negative of this book.
Hearing from lots of people with no other thoughts other than saying that it reads like it was written by a 12-year-old, that it reads like it was middle school, that surely I was being a scam and I was doing this to scam people. It was the worst thing they ever read. I don't even want to say some of the things that...
I will say this. The book that people paid for being bad is not a scam. You were sold it with all these like drawings of OCs and stuff like that, absolutely. But if you don't use your frontal lobe enough to be like, oh, a book written by somebody who started this book when they were 12 years old. Oh, this book has been cooking in the burner for 10 years. If those things don't read as a red flag to you as a purchaser, I'm sorry, but you might be an idiot. Like, I don't know what to tell you. TikTok is brutal on critique. No, people on TikTok don't know how to critique, which is why the critique is brutal, because they are idiots. Yeah, it's like, it's not a scam. If I buy a movie, if I pay money to see a movie based on trailers, and then I see the movie, and then I leave the movie, and I'm like, that movie fucking blew. That movie was a fucking scam. No, it's not a scam. It's a bad movie. I paid for the ticket, and I got a 2-hour experience. It was just a bad 2-hour experience.
I had heard, and I was getting harassed by certain people that were going on to every single one of my videos and commenting these like nasty, like really concerning, nasty things that were not constructive criticism. Here I am being told by dozens of people, all at once, the hardest things that I have ever heard in my life. Like the biggest fears that I have, things that impacted me so much. I didn't know what to do. I turned to my team and I was like, I'm carrying all these people, these 20 people that I have hired as contractors and employees, and I've failed them.
That's a
lot.
I
did something wrong. At first, it was like, I can't tell what I did wrong because I felt like I had done
I genuinely did everything I could to put out the best product I could. I put my heart into this book. Reflecting black on it now, oh my god. Reflecting back on it now, I recognize these are changes and improvements to be made. I hear the voices of my readers, and I realize after publishing that I can go through an even stronger editing process. I'm excited to improve it and do more with the story. For the time pushing it out, I truly felt like I put my best out into the world. Okay, so I have a thought, okay? If I am going to produce a series of books, and my first book sucks...
At Platinum Ether 8198 became a member. At Platinum Ether 8198 celebrates 5 months of membership. I can fix her.
Well, technically, you can fix him. But good luck with that. But the point of what I'm saying is like, oh, if you put out something and it sucks big ol' fucking hog, maybe just like, you know, be like, all right, well, this one fucking sucked. I'm just going to make a new thing. You know, you don't need to be married to universe. Just make a new thing, you know?
Everything right up to that point. I had hired editors. I had done everything that I could.
Also, he's a lesbian, so I guess he's a straight man.
My best ability, because I am one person.
Or just do a reboot, yeah.
I've never been at a mental low than I have this past week. People commenting things like, you're saying this is affecting your safety? To which my answer is, it was affecting my safety.
It's true, it's true. I just got off the phone with Netanyahu. There's a HIMARS rocket system barreling down on your position as we speak.
It literally felt like I was being crushed by the world. I have never experienced heartbreak to that level. I have never experienced fear to that level. What do I do? Like, how do I respond to These people who are being, like, obviously aggressive, because if I delete comments, people are gonna get mad at me. If I block people, people are gonna get mad at me. So how do I deal with being harassed? I'm still unhealthy.
Like, how
from
bad
this.
are we talking here? Bad. Like, bad.
I'm still living in fear. Barely eaten anything in the past, like, 5 days.
Living in fear?
Because this does mean this
If
much.
you got murdered over this book, I would be very surprised. Is it possible? Sure. Anything's possible. But I think on the list of characters that would be assassinated by internet ne'er-do-wells, you're pretty low on the list.
The worst thing
Is this the
that
author of My Immortal? I wish.
can be told is it's a scam. It's a market. It's a market tactic. And it's all just, she got you all. There's something that cannot be more painful than knowing that you did everything that you possibly could and still not being good enough. I had that sense of understanding and it slipped away from my fingers in a matter of hours. I couldn't handle it. I don't even know how to express this as to how much this impacted me. And I'm sure that I'll get comments on this video of like, you're too sensitive, you need to back away from your craft, and that's not what it's about for me. I can't. I have never been able to in my life because I love this project and I love these people that I have hired as
Well, you could get
employees,
these
but
amazing
really these
people
are
to work on something else.
people that I talk to every single day and bond with and have fun with these characters and these, you know, and building this much bigger project better than anything I ever could have imagined, where I felt seen and I felt heard. And
yeah, this all sounds more like your self-identity and trying to find a third space for yourself. You know what really helps something like this? You having a third space. Okay, actually, you have the library. Never mind.
there's people working on this with me, and that's all I've ever wanted for a very long time. And so
I just reinvented the library from fucking Principles First.
So the terror of, am I going to lose this all? Especially when you are constantly getting comments that are like, it stops here, you're done. Like, you're not recovering from this. For a little bit, I thought that was true. It felt like the world was crushing me and that there was absolutely nothing I could do, and it was the end of the line. And I couldn't see my life going back without this and without these things. I picked myself back up and I said, I'm doing everything that I can fucking possibly can to pull out of this, because I love the story and I love what I've created. I love the inspiration that I've given to people. I'm gonna make it right. I think I have lived through the worst fear that I have had throughout my entire life. For like half my life, I've lived through it and I'm done. I've had this experience.
Yeah, not a suicide
and
bait.
now I can move on. Now I can get up and I can go back
Oh my
at
god, why can't you suffer in silence and start doing drugs like as a real artist?
it stronger, and I can rebrand and do all these things and go at it with as much passion as I possibly
Does
can.
this person think
through
that
the
they're going to
creative, like,
snatch the fucking
entire
words off the page? Also, a majority of authors die in obscurity. Stephen King is maybe one of 100-ish people. Hey, a lot of authors do make a living at the very least, but like, I don't know. It's like Stephen King is like an anomaly of like world-renowned famous authors, but there's like a lot of authors that get work, right? Like, I have a copy of V.E. Schwab's book. I have a Richard Kadrey series of books on my shelf, and none of you know who that is. I mentioned the Christopher Ruchocho, the Empire of Silence guy. I think I pronounced his name wrong. I think I butchered it. This is Matt D something, the Dungeon Crawl Carl guy. You know, so like some of these are like doo-doo fard, but like they still, I mean, I don't know. Most of those authors are like ones that I like, that I have on my shelf. But you know, you can make a living and you just won't be like famous. But like people want to be the famous author. They don't want to be like a working artist. Yeah, they want to be Stephen King. Yeah, no, we're on the same page.
company and creative studio around this, like, as the start. So I said, you know what?
H.P.
We're gonna
Lovecraft
go
died
for
in
it.
obscurity. Well, you know, his cat had a really bad name, so.
We're all going to start working on this, and we're already all building, like, the rest of the series together. Let's go back and do it again. I'm trying to do every single thing we can write. And from this point on, I've also learned some personal lessons. I had responded to people and been like, no, I have editors. Like, I have hired these people. I have done these things.
Well, they ain't doing
Why
a
is
good
this
job.
information being like spread about me? Or people who were going after very specific things that I had done intentionally in the book, and me going, well, this is what I meant with it. And the smallest things impacted everything. And so I've learned now that I can't go into my comment sections. It's not easy working the job that I do, and
It's not easy working the job that I do. Okay. I'm not going to say that the internet doesn't encourage bad mental talk and the mental and emotional labor that can occur because of the internet being your job is real. However, I would much prefer to be this than like a deep sea saturation diver or like a factory worker.
adore what I do. I could do it. I do it literally all day, all night. Like, I'm in my bed, like on my studio. I'm out there packing and shipping things. My animal, for God's sake, both of them have like constellation collars. Like, that is where we are at. Like, everything in my life revolves around this because it's my special interest, and I'm
It's my autistic.
This has been my thing my entire life. This is my entire branding as a human. With that passion, and with the drive that I have to keep
This is my fixation.
going, to not give up on this because I don't want to give up on my life. I've learned a very important
Why
lesson.
don't you just like make something else? Make something else. I don't know. I make so many things, but I'm not married to anything that I make.
And that's that it will happen no matter what. But I've been through it now. I've had the worst things that people have told me. I've had some really wonderful words that people have told me. It's just to give a little bit perspective.
I am my brand is a horrible thing to think. I guess as a content creator, that is like a true statement, but I don't know.
Who I am as a person and what this genuinely means to me. And I hope this can shed some light on what it is truly like to be in this situation. Even though it's wonderful having all of this come in and
I am
all
not
of
a
this happen.
grifter. I took the money I made from pre-sales, put it back into what I love the most. A 6-figure business means 6 figures of revenue are going into it. I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars I'm holding on to. I have a team of international employees and contractors. This kind of makes you sound breaded.
I've also allocated all of it back into my company. Like, I pay a lot of my employees more than I do myself because this is, once again, what matters to me. I'm
Welcome
going to
to the
keep
club. Welcome to the club. You're not special. It's actually best practices to be doing that.
doing this as much as I can. As long as I can survive, I'm okay. I'll sacrifice everything that I need to in order to just give my stories to other people. People don't see the toll that takes on somebody, and the toll and the stress, and being an artist is a very strange thing in this day and age. Being both an artist and an influencer, so I can be an artist.
I hate the
wrap
term
it up.
influencer. We need a de-influence artist, but also we need to like rebuild the pillars that allowed art to be crafted and kick down those barriers that keep the industry stagnating with old people. So I guess, there's a lot of things that need to change.
Thank you if you made it this far. Thank you for kind words. Thank you for all of those that have supported me along the way and very encouraging things that I have heard. There are so many people.
Thanks Diesel, I'm now more secure in my own writing and have hired a Discord assassin to game end me if I ever decide to self-publish.
Well, that ACC person tried doing that and that did not go well for them, I will say. But I mean, it's not even like, you need other people to read your writing. You need to get critiqued on your writing. You need to do so much about your writing. You know what I mean? There's so many things that need to happen. So you can't just do that. But if you just write for yourself, then yeah, write whatever fucking sloppy bullshit you want or make some fucking gross fan fiction. I don't do that, fucking live a little.
And seeing so many people waiting for me to get back up that gave me hope. There's people out there that are recognizing like how much heartbreak this has caused and how much devastation in my life it has caused. But I would not be able to do it without the team that I have, without the artists that I bond with, without the people that have stayed with me throughout all of this and been like, no, we're here for you. And that itself is a reason to fight. Fighting to give other artists a voice and to allow them
This person
to
would be a small business tyrant if he ever got his talents and another artist as a ghostwriter. Yeah, I agree with that.
also live their dream and to give others hope. I want to continue doing that. And I'm going to. I would die before I gave up on this thing.
Oh my god,
hope that
stop saying that you'll fall on the sword if this project doesn't go through.
at least shine some light on like what this all has done to me and how one person, one video can impact someone, especially
Guys, you gotta understand the haters, the trolls.
in a creative. As authors, we should be doing better to support each other.
Oh my god, you cannot be a freshman telling a senior how to act. I'm sorry, you can't. You can't. You know, it's about putting respect on those who came before you, brother. All right? You were seriously trying to be like, well, we gotta build each other up. Yeah, and part of that also includes healthy criticism. Obviously, people giving, like, incredibly rude statements are not worth it, but if it's somebody who's a peer, who's been there, then it's like, whatever, you know, you fucking work through it.
Be lifting each other up. We should be speaking up for each other in this time where AI is replacing a lot of our jobs and with artists. And we're not. We're becoming competitors because of this market that we have been forced into. These publishers that are quite literally, their companies, controlling how books are distributed, controlling every single thing about being an author. The way we fight it is
I think there is something
not
to be
as
said
indie
about
authors
publishing.
bringing other indie authors down.
I think the publishing industry is obviously very awful, but these like things also have other things inside them. Like a good publishing company has more than just publishing your book and getting it in Barnes and Noble. It also has like, oh, contact to editors, to proofreaders, to people who can help improve your work so that way it's ready for market. People who understand what typeface you should have your book in. People who understand why you might need to have a dyslexic version of your book. People who know how to get art for your book cover. People who know how to workshop the cover, the title of your book, right? All of these things help you make a thing. And obviously you can get that by being an independent self-published author, but it's really hard when you don't know where to find those things. It just is. So it's like, yeah, I get that those things can be bad, but also know that like, you know, you're choosing to forego the institutional tools that exist with that.
It is lifting each other up. There's a lot of potential out there, and a lot of authors, and a lot of readers, and a lot of people who have hope in this day and age. So speak up.
Yeah, if you want to martyr yourself for a book, there's already a bunch of popular ones that are out there.
Act like an artist. You are
Act like an artist. Like, what the thing is that an artist can critique another artist's work. So many artists honed their craft in spaces where they interacted with their peers regularly. You know, it's not like these artists just made in a cave and then produced work. Like even outside of this, like modern day, like an Andy Warhol, like interacted with other artists. Like there's so many examples you could give. You know, the Greek orators would talk to each other. Fucking playwrights would talk to each other and write essays to each other as letters, or they would interact in real life. This critique is this. It's gone back since the dawn of like academic creative process. You know, like that's part of being an artist. That's part of it. You know? Art teachers are so brutal. They want you to off yourself. I don't know about that. Yeah, just don't take the criticism like a certain Austrian artist. Well, I gotta be honest, I don't think the art school thing was the thing that sent him over the edge.
Authors are artists, and we have lost sense of that. We have diverged away from that into this is a job and an occupation in a market. So start becoming
Yeah, Tolkien and C.S. Lewis constantly wrote each other and got drinks together to shoot the shit. Yes, and Tolkien, from what I remember, wasn't like a big fan of Frank Herbert. So it's like these are all things that existed way before the internet.
artist skin. Keep pushing.
The way you word critique is important. It's why I like to say this isn't good. You can improve on this. However, this part is great. I mean, having healthy critique discussion is like good, but you gotta make sure you're not doing the "this is bad but" thing. This is X but Y.
Because even if something is your will to live and the worst thing happens to it,
Yeah, artists that blame only the industry, no matter how bad the industry is, are always held to interact with. You notice that every rapper that fell off always blames the industry. Many such cases.
you can still get back up. I'm not dying yet. I'm not.
I like how, speaking of, have you guys seen the edits for Iceman, Drake's album, where they've like redone the vocals over Hickory Dickory Dock, and it turns out like Drake is rapping to the same beat as Hickory Dickory Dock? I don't understand why his argument is authors are artists, but I'm an entrepreneur. Yeah, yeah. Well, let me go take a little gamer piss. I'll be right back. Let me go gamer piss it up.
Baby, ¿dónde has visto a alguien como tú? Que camine con ese tumbao, con esa actitud. Dime dónde venden en la tienda a alguien como tú, pa' que entiendas el nivel de tu altitud. Ey, dame el punto exacto de tu latitud, que no tenemos chance en la corte, ni un pasaporte pa' después de la muerte. Así que fúgate con tu folklore. Yo te hizo de una manera tan fuerte. Así que fúgate con tu folklore. Y digo todo tan lonely. Así que fúgate con tu folklore. Yo te hizo de una manera tan fuerte. Yo miro y digo todo tan lonely. Así que fúgate. Vente, dame de eso que tú tienes, bebé. Con tanto amor tú te vas a enloquecer. Yo te quiero estremecer. Después arreglamos con quién vamos a envejecer. Por ahora sigue así de bella pa' que no pasen las horas. Brilla como estrella de chamito de señora. Yo queriendo novio pero tú no colaboras. Es por ser quien eres que te atiendo a todas horas. Goddamn, yo te hizo de una manera tan fuerte. Así que fúgate con tu goddamn, yo miro y digo todo tan lonely. Así que fúgate con tu goddamn, yo te hizo de una manera tan fuerte. Goddamn, yo miro y digo todo tan lonely. Así que fúgate. No quiero llorar cada vez que tú compites.
I'm drinking a red colored energy drink, and I don't know if you guys remember this like post where this guy is like, they had to stop giving me the red ones because it always made me go crazy. But I gotta be honest, I think this red energy drink is like making me feel worse. I don't know how to explain it other than that's just what it feels like, man. Am I crazy for saying that? Is the red 40 like making me fucking crazy? Ah. I don't know. Maybe. All right. There is a long video on this. What flavor is it? No, it's not Alani. Hold on, I'm looking for it. Oh, it was right over here. Dude, I didn't even notice it. It's candy apple. It's candy apple. That's the flavor. Let me read the ingredients. Oh, fuck, there is a red 40 in this. Is it red 40 is the bugs, right? Red 40 is the bugs. I think Red 40 fucks me up, dude. I think Red 40 makes me crazy. Something's in it. I've felt awful since I've started using this, but I've been like, oh, I'm gonna be frugal and use whatever I got, you know. I love Red 40. It's tasty. No, Red 40 is a good one. I'm gonna look this up right now. Okay. Let me look this up. What is Red 40? No, that's Carmine. Let's see. Oh God, there's a TikTok video. Hold on. That's just what I need.
Red 40 or blue 1? What are you feeling?
I want this one.
40.
Wow, that looks fucking foul. Why are these people doing that? Are they crazy?
This is pussy shit.
It's Red 40. It's Red 40.
The guy is so drunk.
I don't know what to tell you.
If there's drugs in there, I will sue the fuck out of you.
Red 40.
There's drugs in there. I'll sue the fuck out of you. God. Red 40 is a very common red food dye. Okay, that's not really helpful. Synthetic food dye Red 40 causes DNA. I'm just reading the abstract on this. Dude's just straight up drinking dye. Dude, his fucking shit is gonna come out pure red. Why are you taking chugs from a strange man? The incidence of colorectal cancer among young people has been on a rise for the past 4 decades, and its underlying causes are just starting to be uncovered. Recent studies suggest that consuming ultra-processed foods and pro-inflammatory diets may be a contributing factor. Dude, all the inflammation I'm feeling, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna have colon cancer and die. Food dye Allura Red 40 coincides with early onset colorectal cancer. You know what? I don't care if this is true or not. I'm gonna stop drinking it because it makes me feel bad, and so ergo, I don't want colon cancer. Red 3 is a crazy one. It's called Carmine. Okay, hold on. Okay. Wow, that's gross. Carmine is blah blah blah. Coheolin extract, crimson lake or Carmine lake is a pigment preparation. Okay. Is a powdered scale insect bodies are boiled in an ammonia or sodium carbonate. Okay. Okay, so that's where the bugs come from. We're all gonna die from ass inflammation? Yeah. Huh. If you don't want colon cancer, better get that colonoscopy a bit early. Well, I don't really have amazing insurance right now, so I don't think I get the option to get a colonoscopy right now, so... That has been a thought on my mind. I think men should be getting their colon checked at a much younger age than we're doing, but that's my... I don't know if that's too woke of a take. Let's get through this video, I guess. Or start going on this video. I might bow out of this one early because it is like 2 hours long. Colonoscopy GoFundMe. I can check your colon at a reduced rate, DM me. I don't think I want the guy who will do it for a bottle of Thunderbird.
I probably shouldn't be recording this, but
It depends on the person. Red 40 has been known to interact with people with ADHD. Wait, really? What does it do? What does it do? Wait, I want to know. You can't be fucking serious, really?
I need to put it into perspective.
for some people.
The biggest booktube scandal of 2025 was the Age of Scorpius by Milo Winter, or as he was known pre-transition, Audra Winter. Milo started uploading TikToks about himself and his book in January 2021, trying to amass a large enough online audience to help him get an agent. In order to do that, he had to do two things. One was to sell the premise of his book, the other was to sell himself as an author. The book's elevator pitch of a Zodiac-based fantasy dystopia was already marketable
Yeah,
enough.
don't freak us out like that.
But Milo himself wasn't, at least not to the industry. He was still a teenager, barely 18 years old, still in high school, and still wearing braces. This would start one of Milo's worst patterns of behavior, where he would scramble to come up with anything that could make him look like a somewhat good investment, so he just spouted anything that could be sold as writing credentials. That itself carried two new problems. One,
I see. The resume way. The resume way. I guess, you know, what else are you gonna do? Lie? Yeah, I guess lie.
that he didn't know what actually mattered about being an author, mainly good writing, and the other issue was that he had no experience in the publishing industry and had never written anything professionally before. So Milo had to stretch pretty far to beef up his resume, and most of the stuff he listed as his experience either wasn't actually that impressive, was highly exaggerated.
Me when an 18-year-old lies on the internet? Wow, so it's fucking... It's almost like it's another day with a blue sky.
Filled with blatant half-truths. One claim that he made repeatedly was that he already wrote 11 books at age 18. The exact number varies from video to video, and I'm going to go into more detail about this later, but what he did here is that he counted every single draft of The Age of Scorpius as its own novel, had maybe one or two unrelated writing projects, and even then he still had to add several of his Pokemon fanfics. Another claim that wasn't as impressive as he wished was a self-publication of a previous version of Age of Scorpius called The Zodiac Turner at age 14. Don't get me
I feel like every good internet culture needs a Milo. Anti-SJWs had Milo Stewart, politics had Milo Yiannopoulos. Authors get this tutor.
wrong. It is a genuine achievement for anyone to actually finish a whole draft. Hell knows, I never had the attention span for that, but anyone can publish a book via print on demand, including a teenager. Self-publishing at that age only becomes impressive if the book is good.
That's true. That's true.
Booktick be like forbidden romance and its Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, that's true. That's also true.
Zodiac Turner certainly wasn't.
They love the sympathetic serial killer. They love a good mafia boss. The mafia boss one is getting really crazy because I saw a TikTok of this like grown woman like basically being like, well, what if there is a mafia guy like the ones from the books? What if there is one and he's like really longing for that experience? And then somebody on like Twitter was like, and then if they did see a mafia guy, it would be like Tony Soprano, and they'd be horribly misogynistic, and they'd probably beat you. And it's like, all right. I mean, yeah.
And Milo knows that.
Why is it in a cage? Because it growled at me.
His third big claim was that at that point, the Age of Scorpius had already won both a state and national award. Now, he did submit a draft of the Age of Scorpius to the Scholastic Arts and Writing Awards and was a Silver Key winner for the Greater Kansas City Writing Project 2021, so the book did win a regional award, but he never showed a national award, so either he made one up, or he counted this one as two, or he counted NaNoWriMo as a genuine writing award, which it isn't. Add to all of that he was querying agents at the same time he was also still querying beta readers, and the truth of an inexperienced and over-hasty writer was already showing itself, but it's easy to say that in hindsight. Back then, his self-presentation...
Yeah, I'm popping in to remind everyone fanfiction is free. Yeah, you could just write. You could just write Sonic the Hedgehog X Sans Undertale X Sanji.
As a passionate teenager, earned him around 110,000 followers, which in turn earned him an agent by late 2021, with whom he officially signed in early 2022. Then his bubble popped. You can present yourself as a gifted kid on social media all you want, but eventually people are gonna want to see your writing. His writing wasn't good, so eventually his agent dropped him. Remember that. I'm gonna come back to it later. Now, being overconfident online is always cringe, but not criminal. Where it starts getting iffy is when other people's money gets involved. You see, Milo is, to use his own words, incredibly neurodivergent. So on May 10th, 2023, he started a GoFundMe page to raise $8,000 for a service dog, which he managed to raise by October of...
Can I write Diesel X Beckett fanfics? Absolutely.
The same year. On this page, he claims that he can't pay for this dog himself because a miscommunicated GI Bill has forced him to drop out of college and has left him with a bunch of student loans. This claim is very interesting because a couple days later, he said on his Twitter that he's just going to take a semester off to work in Alaska for a couple months.
What?
Lying that he was still in...
Oh god, that reminds me of a writing competition I entered at school and I won because I was the only guy who did a short story.
Oh, brother.
college at the time this GoFundMe went up. And after Alaska, he returned to college with his service dog that he had just raised the money for based on the lie that he had to drop out of college. This is wire fraud. Also, since we're already talking about his college...
Well, I mean, I don't know, man. I guess. I don't know if I'd say it's wire fraud. I feel like you need to be an attorney to say that, but yeah, I mean, I get, yeah. He didn't drop out of college. That was a lie.
Education, Milo joined the Colorado State University in August-September 2021. He left for Alaska in May 2023 and returned late September, early October.
Who just leaves to Alaska to fuck off for some time? What does that even entail? What was Milo doing in Alaska?
Yeah, which means he had to take the fall semester off for that.
And do the kids of military parents benefit from the GI Bill at all? I don't know if they do.
And the Age of Scorpius would later cost him both 2025 semesters, so to this day he can only have finished a maximum of 6 full semesters, meaning that whenever he claims that he has a major or minor in anything, or is even anywhere near close to finishing his degree, he's lying. Unfortunately, the lessons Milo learned throughout all of this are that lying gets you money and followers get you published. So after his agency dropped him, he returned to TikTok on November 2024 and started his entire Age of Scorpius campaign all over.
My name is Audra Winters, and I'm a naturalist? The fuck does that mean?
Again, trying to present himself as an experienced writer based on trumped up credentials.
Me when I go to the Vistani caravan to ask for my fortune to be told.
So people would buy into his book, gained a lot of success, and then people actually saw his writing and the bubble popped again. Only this time there were 2 new additions to his image. One of which was that he was actually self-publishing his book this time. First, he tried raising the funds for that via Kickstarter, and when that didn't reach its goal, he cancelled that campaign early in mid-February and decided to self-publish with his own funds anyways. He kept posting throughout the entire publication process, and once he opened pre-orders through TikTok Shop, he kept getting pushed by the algorithm. The exact number of pre-orders that he sold is not very clear, but the 5,000 TikTok Shop pre-orders alone racked up to $130,000.
Yeah, TikTok Shop pre-orders, it would make it mighty easy to get pushed by the algorithm, for sure.
And to that, you also have to add ebook, Amazon, and special edition paperback pre-orders. Most of the pre-order money got spent on artwork, which he could use both in the book and as marketing material. Then he started building hype based on...
Having a novel that has pictures in it is crazy work, I will not lie. If that is the case with this book, that is bananas.
Hype. The second new addition to his image was public rudeness, lashing out at anyone doubting his project, one time on June 13th, 2025, even uploading a 9-minute long rant video about it.
Okay, I'm gonna be so honest, I had a much longer video recorded responding to this, but I don't want to humor you that much because you are clearly trying to get attention. You have not done any sort of research on my page, and you have just decided to go into multiple of my videos and be negative. This is not what constructive criticism is, and I know what constructive criticism is because I have been in the publishing industry for 10 years.
I do think I've been in the publishing industry for 10 years. You're not old enough to have been conscious for that stuff. Not in the way that you think. But yes. Not being able to finish one book in 10 years is really a bad sign. Well, that's Rose Malay. No, that's fucking Rose Malay. Dude, you gotta be fucking kidding me. That's fucking Rose Malay. Dude, oh my god, dude. It's like a fucking... We need to get the roach spray out of here, dude. You can't be fucking serious. That's fucking Rose Malay. Rose is right. Not being able to finish one book in 10 years is a bad sign. Absolutely. But I refuse. I choose to ignore that. I choose to ignore it. Simply because it's a Rose Malay. Alright, so I renege my agreement in such an opinion. And say that Rose I Love Rape Malay should be placed into an institution for all eternity. Roach Malay yet again. Roach Malay is a good one. That's a very powerful one. I have to steal that one, Blue Yokai. I'm sorry.
I've redone the first book time and time again to find the correct place to start.
Dude, you got fucking jebaited by Roach Malay. I cannot believe Milo got baited by Roach Malay.
The correct story to tell, the right age, all of these things, developing different characters, switching main characters. I have written book after book after book, and I have gone through the professional stages to have those books looked at. I also very much encourage you to look up Malcolm Gladwell's The Outliers. I have a lot of experience.
Okay, well, Malcolm Gladwell... There's a lot of things we could say about Malcolm Gladwell, but okay.
in the publishing industry. I self-published my first book at 14. At 15, I started querying literary agents. I kept doing that while rewriting books. 18 to 19 years old, I signed with my literary agency. I was with them for 3 years. At that time, I had a developmental editor look over it while I was at the agency, and my literary agent. I ended up spending 3 years there and rewriting a book 3 times, like entirely different manuscripts. I left on my own will because I decided that I wanted to defend my idea and keep my creative freedom. Hired the developmental editor who published The Hunger Games and a copy editor with 30 years of experience at Big 5 publishing houses. I have an entire studio. I have a team. I own a 6-figure business based around this world right now.
Oh my god, what an insane fucking... Dude, you fell for the easiest debate of your life. Holy shit. Holy shit. The 6-figure business shit, you are actually a fucking moron. Holy shit.
And it's because I have been so successful. They just shipped. My books just shipped. 57.
Dude, you're so fucking owned. You're so fucking owned. Dude, Rose Malay getting a giga own on somebody is always a bad day for everyone else.
700 books that I have sold on pre-order.
It's so nice having like an encyclopedic knowledge of every single kind of shitter that could possibly exist on the internet.
I am independent. I've run my own publishing imprint. I have a team of artists. These guys have all read the book.
Dude, this is actually such a bad crash out too. This is ridiculous how long this is.
Numerous artists that have read it twice. I have artists that cried at that book because of how powerful it was personally to them. These guys would not get on the call every single night and talk about this for hours straight with me if they did not.
My boss came to me and said, "Hey, could you read this book?" And then you look at it and you read it. You go, "Yeah, it's good, boss. Please pay me."
Diesel, did you know that male fantasy romance novels exist? As someone that loves BioWare games, I have found a new world.
That's crazy. I feel like I would just be reading porn at that rate. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather just go to extra mile and get like I don't even... Well, first of all, I don't think male fantasy romance novels would cater to my specific needs. You know, I think I'd much easier, more easily find that amongst the smuttier things in existence, you know.
Enjoy it. Also, you have some audacity to get on my videos and comment about how it was not healthy for me to have this much passion and dedication for a project, how it's not normal. Babe, this is my special interest. Please.
Yeah, you don't understand, Diesel. Everybody who read the book clapped. They literally clapped. I'm a special baby who's the next Stephen King.
God, look up what a special interest is. Being not normal for something like that is...
Dude, you cannot be trying to autism splain Rose Malay. All right, you're fucking Frieza, okay, and that's Son Goku. All right, in power scaling autists.
How my brain works.
Men want to be wooed too. Yeah, I do want to be wooed, but I don't think the books out there are gonna be like, you know, catering to my wants.
Many other neurodivergent individuals and autistic individuals.
Dude. Oh my god, an unemployed newcomer against the unemployed final boss.
I think your intention is either you are projecting onto me because you have not been successful, and somebody who
That is true. Rose Malay is not successful. Excuse me, Roach Malay. I gotta normalize that.
Successful that has gone a different route than you are jealous of. Either that or you were out for attention. And you were just solely...
That's true. Roach Malay is always out for attention.
Making assumptions on my skill as a writer, and you don't have any basis...
Dude, it is insane how many dramas this person finds themselves falling into. You want your own Morning Glory milking farm, boss? Is that it? Yes, I do want my own Morning Glory milking farm. Yes.
For them. I became a full-time author on only pre-orders. The book isn't even out yet. Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to get on here and be able to talk about the credentials that I have, because I usually don't get the opportunity to do that, because I like staying neutral about these things, but I do have a lot of experience in the writing industry. So, good luck in whatever you are doing. You're a musician, maybe? I don't know. Good luck in the music field.
You're a musician. There's no way Milo is trying to pocket watch Roach Malay. Holy shit, you're fucking owned.
That's even worse. That's worse than writing. And I know that because I was there at one point too. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
All of this was especially rich considering how many of his credentials were yet again exaggerated at best.
It's even double rich considering that's the person who approves of rape.
And blatant lies at worst.
Residential baby reindeer Roach Malay.
Milo did indeed hire one developmental and one copy editor, but his developmental editor did not publish The Hunger Games. She worked on marketing material for The Hunger Games back when she was employed at Scholastic UK. His copy editor did not work for Big Five publishing houses for 30 years either. She had some clients that were later published by Big Five publishing houses. Milo also doesn't have 10 years of experience in the publishing industry, so let's just talk about where he spent those 10 years at instead, and
Yeah,
also
at that
go
point,
through
Milo would have been like 18, so what was that? When Milo was 8, he entered the industry?
the
Okay.
10 or 11 books he always says he wrote. The year is 2015. On July 8th, a 12-year-old Milo created a Wattpad account for his Pokemon fanfiction. One of his friends shared
Wattpad account.
the same hobby under the handle Heir to the Fortune, so on October 6th, they created a collaborative Wattpad account on which they, together, wrote a story called Zodiac Awakened. If Milo wants to be at 10 years in 2025, then he must count this story as the starting point of the Age of Scorpius, and he did use this post in some of his old TikToks in 2021. Unfortunately, Zodiac Awakened has since been deleted, so I can't give you any more details on that, except that Milo and Heir are still friends to this very day. Then, on August 4th, 2016, Milo created a new Wattpad account for his first own original
Objectively, Roach Malay is more famous simply because Roach is the reason Brat Girl Summer leaked. But yeah, getting felted by Roach is crazy.
fiction called The Zodiac Turner, The Five Trials. The account has since been deleted, so I can't give you any exact upload dates, but he probably finished the first draft between August and November 2016 and immediately started work on a sequel called The Phoenix Bracelet in December. Weeks later, on January 14th, 2017, his friend Heir started an official Instagram account for The Zodiac Turner, and 3 days later, on January 17th, Milo self-published this book via Amazon and even hosted a book signing in March. Milo is 14 years old and believes he wrote a book. After self-publishing
Brad Girl Summer.
in January, Milo also published one of his Pokemon fanfics called Wind Chimes as a book 2 in April. On its
Dude, publishing your Pokemon fanfiction as a book is crazy work, I will not lie. A Pokemon fanfiction. Previously an award-winning fanfiction on Wattpad.com. I am befuddled at such a statement, okay?
On page, he claims that it won the 2016 Watty Awards, but it was actually just the Pokemon
Dude,
Watty Awards.
The second we said Rose Malay, it already triggered her fucking Google alerts, alright? When you're a roach, you have nothing to do all day except be a drag on society, so...
In months, Milo would start rewriting The Zodiac Turner, you know, his already published novel, and recruited beta readers for it in March 2018. 5 months later, he'd start emptying his Wattpad accounts and unpublish The Zodiac Turner from Amazon in order to transition into traditional publishing. After getting the beta reader feedback, he probably started rewriting the book again by the end of 2018. On January 24th, 2019, he sent out his first query to an agent. It didn't work. Milo is 16 years old and believes he wrote a book. By August 2020, he had started rewriting the book again and finished his next draft around November, this time called The Zodiac Turner, Age of Scorpius. This is the manuscript he submitted to Scholastic, and this is the manuscript he was advertising in 2021. On January 11th, Milo uploaded his first TikTok. He is 18 years old and believes he wrote a book. Pause. We are 3 rewrites in at this point, but that doesn't mean that the Age of Scorpius was in its 4th draft now. Yes, the Zodiac Turner got rewritten a bunch, but the book also significantly changed throughout these rewrites. The Zodiac Turner is not the Age of Scorpius, it is a proto-Age of Scorpius. They're all Zodiac-based fantasy dystopias set on a fictional continent called Guardian, and they all have a wolf-loving Scorpio protagonist with the power of Zodiac turning, but the Age of Scorpius doesn't have 5 trials or a prophecy, and Gemini aren't the villains anymore. Instead, the main conflict now revolves around
Geminis were the villains. That is actually very funny.
Around a Scorpio code that didn't even get mentioned in the Zodiac Turner. What happened in 2020 was a complete overhaul of the entire series, so the book Milo tried advertising to TikTok here most likely really was the first draft of Age of Scorpius. In fact, up to its very publication in June 2025, the book would never stop being in a quantum state between its first and 10th draft. The Age of Scorpius wasn't a singular catastrophe, but the culmination of a pattern of behavior 10 years in the making. The first half of which is that he keeps confusing a book's worth of writing with an actual book and immediately tries publishing.
8
The
books
second half
worth
is that
of writing. Named a Pokemon fanfiction Wind Chimes, but they don't use Chime Echo on the cover. Well, why would it be that Pokemon? Okay. Well, actually, they're young enough that it could have been that Pokemon.
He doesn't get the positive feedback that he wants, so he starts rewriting it until he has a book's worth of writing again. What's especially frustrating about this is that he knows that he keeps rewriting his book.
My buddy got hung up on a retail job interview call because the lady asked her sign and she said Gemini. That's crazy. Could that be discrimination? in the world. Like, could you sue for that? I feel like that's a suable thing. That feels suable, I would say.
And he even knows that his previous drafts are bad, but he hasn't connected those two synapses yet in order to realize that he has a habit of publishing bad drafts. One factor here is that Milo has one character trait that every writer kinda needs, but paradoxically turns him into a bad writer, and that is that Milo really loves writing. When he claims that he did his 10,000 hours, that he spends multiple hours every night writing and even more daydreaming, I have no reason not to believe him. I just wish he'd stop writing new stuff when he's supposed to just edit the old stuff. And I know that this is what happened because he admitted to having added a completely new chapter that he just wrote on the day that he sent his manuscript out to the developmental editor.
So update after almost
Oh
having
my
a full
God.
breakdown, because Scrivener decided that I didn't want to convert Word files. I did it and it's sent to my editor. Now,
See, even Milo Winters is using Scrivener here, so I don't know why Milo was putting it in fucking Google Docs, dude.
I don't know. I hope it's good, but it did drop 10,000 words. So in case anybody was wondering what my fucking revision process was like after I said I was done with this,
Just finish the
I was done with
book.
this book, I still dropped.
All right, I need to finish the book I'm working on. You know, this just makes me super nervous because now I'm just like, all right, it's been like 2 years. Diesel, finish this fucking book.
10,000 words. That is so much. And then, oh my god, I wrote an entirely new chapter today too. Why did I write an entirely new chapter, you ask? Lesbians.
That's odd. The comedic timing of that with it sped up is too good. You know why I had to write a new chapter? Lesbians. Loud rave music begins to play. Oh, shit. Kind of bass, kind of bass.
Looks like we found a chapter that genuinely was published as a first draft. Milo also...
The difference is you're taking your time and putting in actual effort. Yeah, I mean, I assume Milo was also taking his time and putting in actual effort, but then you put it out and maybe it is doo-doo fart shit fuck. You know? Like, I don't know, man. That shit's always the case. You never know.
Doesn't know how...
Don't feel bad. I've been working on one of my books since 2013. At that rate, if it was that long, I would have just been like, okay, I'm done. I'll work on something else. Is this person what I'm like when I escape my fugue state? My eyes roll back and boom, one shot.
Editing works. When he tried using his constant changes to plot, characters, age, etc. as a selling point in 2025, he was actually waving a huge red flag because none of your writing can be properly developed if you're still changing the outline. Editing isn't just making the book better, you also have to lock the book down. Sure, you'll start out cutting and adding chapters and shifting scenes around, but there comes a point in time when the focus shifts from what you're writing to how you're writing.
Yeah,
it.
she takes down one book and rewrites it. That's her published work.
And agonizing over characters turns into agonizing
Yeah, if
over...
this doesn't inspire you guys to like start that project you put on the back burner, I don't know what does.
Punctuation. Milo never clocked that.
I've written 9 books in the series. We're counting revisions because when I revise, I restart the entire thing.
This is also why his agent dropped him. Now, whenever Milo wanted to look like a victim of the publishing industry, he claimed that the agency had suddenly dropped all of their sci-fi and fantasy authors, and when he wanted to look like a dedicated businessman, he said that he left his agency in order to preserve his creative vision, but both are lies. Fellow Tumblr user Soul Mama actually reached out to his agent, and it turns out that Milo got dropped because he wouldn't edit.
After to get them to edit, revise their work, I had to let them go. Damn. Wow. Wow.
Surprise! Industry professionals can actually tell when you keep writing new first drafts instead of actually fixing your writing mistakes. It's also kind of...
I don't do that, though. I don't write all these new first drafts. That's insane. I don't even know why you would do that. It feels like so much work.
Funny that Milo tried marketing his book by saying that multiple editors looked over it while he was with his agency for 3 years and he rewrote it multiple times. But if multiple editors keep...
It's okay for most stuff to just be mid. I don't think most things need to be transcendental works of art that fundamentally shift your perspective on reality, you know? But like, you gotta at least put the effort in. You know, you could be competent at something. You don't need to be astounding. That stuff comes later.
making you rewrite your manuscript for years and it never goes on submission, then that means your book isn't ready to be published yet. He also didn't spend 3 years with his agent either. She represented him for 2 years. Milo got officially signed in early 2022 and got dropped late 2023. That's important because throughout his entire marketing journey, Milo kept insisting that he had an agent for the entire 3 years he spent away from TikTok, and he decided to self-publish when they separated. There is one instance where he admits that he spent some time querying new agents, but he always presented it as if he chose not to go the trad publishing route anymore and that he wanted to go independent.
After working with a literary agency for 3 years straight, they decided to drop about 20 of their authors who wrote in science fiction.
I'm beginning to think that Milo might actually come from money. I don't know, man.
Fantasy because they did not represent the genre anymore. That was not cool. I could have stayed in. Very well. I knew that, and I actually queried a couple of agents back in like August. And then it hit me that I don't want to do that. I ultimately made the decision to go indie again because I wanted to...
Listen, I think having some compromise on your vision definitely sucks, but sometimes it's a necessary evil. Yeah, absolutely. Wrong. You need to write the next Dune and completely redefine the genre and become a pillar work from which all work stems from. God, horrifying.
Creative freedom over my world.
The truth is that he kept getting rejected. He had to go independent because no one would publish him purely based on the merits of his writing. And on some level, Milo knows that. He is incredibly insecure, and in that insecurity, he has found himself a way to think of himself as a good writer without having to engage with his own writing. His videos are filled with how many books he's written and how many hours he put into writing and daydreaming and how this was his hyperfixation and special interest and how many pre-orders he sold and how successful his editors are and how many artists he got, as if it was just a list of boxes to tick that would automatically make him a good writer. One of the most cringe parts of this entire saga was on February 4th, 2025, when someone questioned if counting your writing experience from middle school is actually a smart idea, and Milo answered by pulling out Malcolm Gladwell's The Outliers.
Hello, my name is Audra Winter. I'm a 22-year-old author who has been working on my series in my world for 10 years, and we're going to talk about this today. We're also going to talk about Malcolm Gladwell's theory of 10,000 hours to mastery. If you are not familiar...
I feel like you can get a leg up in life by having a natural, like, childlike play with a certain hobby as a child, right? So, like, if you start drawing when you're 10, obviously you'll be better by the time you're 20.
Sometimes the publisher's editor idea is better.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like, I wouldn't count the stories I wrote as a middle schooler part of my career. You know what I mean? The same way I wouldn't include videos. Like, I include that time because technically I've been making videos on FPS Diesel since I was 14 years old, which is a horrifying thing to think. I've had that channel since I was 14. But I don't know, and I don't say that my career started when I was 14. I say that my career started when I was like 19, 20, somewhere around there. So I don't include all of those years before where I was making just as many videos.
What that is a theory, obviously, by Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers. Super, super good book. I highly recommend it. I read it in high school, and I'm willing to bet some people watching this video might have also read it in high school. He states that writing is a developed skill. It is not a natural born talent. And in order to achieve mastery, he says that one must spend 10,000 hours.
The 10,000 hours thing, I also find, I know there's like been a lot of studies on that, but there's like a lot of things where it could take more or less depending on the skill. And that skills vary depending on like the complexity and your own personal related things associated with you. So it's like, if you're somebody who has like a natural predisposition for like writing, it might be a shorter amount of time than 10,000 hours. Same thing for drawing, right? So like all of that stuff is dependent, but the 10,000 hours thing is not a hard and fast rule. You know, it's like a variable thing that could be used as a barometer of understanding of a topic, but it doesn't really mean what Milo is saying that it means here. Well, it means that in the book, but I think in like a social science context, you definitely shouldn't take it that way because it's just not how anything works, really. I don't know. It's like I could have become a good artist if I started drawing when I was 10. Or I could have languished as a mediocre artist from 10 till now. Or I could start drawing now and get better than I possibly could have been when I started at 10, you know? So all of these things could be true. I played 10,000 hours in Rainbow Six Siege and I'm still shit. That would make a really funny YouTube video. I played 10,000 hours of Rainbow Six Siege, and I'm still bronze.
I have achieved mastery according to Malcolm Gladwell's theory.
You haven't achieved mastery because mastery isn't like an hour-long box that you had to tick. Like, I've definitely edited more than 10,000 hours in my entire life, for sure. But I have bad habits with editing that I'm trying to unlearn. I have new skills and theories that I could still learn. I have new programs that I could still learn. Whether or not I'm a master at it, I would say that I'm not. I'd say I'm middling at best. I think there are much better editors out there than me. But I understand the principles, right? Because, you know, 10,000 hours is not like a box to tick. I think as this YouTuber has stated, where it's like Milo's trying to hit all these boxes that are like boxes of success. But the thing is that making anything creative is not a box to tick.
Single night since I was 12 years old, I have written for
The 10K hours doing a skill wrong only teaches you to do it wrong. If you don't fucking learn from it, this is such an ass saying. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. This person is literally a Marvel Rivals Lord ass player. They got Lord on their one trick and still can't break bronze.
least 3 hours. That is not an exaggeration. That is not me making stuff up. That is genuinely how I go to sleep at night. Usually I spend more than 3 hours writing. This is my special interest. So we're just going to assume 3 hours. And
yeah,
like
if
I said,
draw boxes for 10,000 hours, I'm not going to get better at drawing anything else other than a box.
This is something that matters so deeply to me that I genuinely want to spend this much time on it. We're going to do some...
It's like, it's funny because it almost seems like Milo read Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 Hours in high school, never read another book about deep work at all, and then just ran with it. It's like I paid attention in high school English class, and then I didn't read anything else.
Here. Now I'm a writer, so I have a notebook where I got some help from Google.
Practice makes permanent, not perfect. That's a good way to put it. I really like that.
If you don't think I have the 10,000 years of hours in writing, I do definitely at least have 10,000 hours in world building. We're going to take 10,000 hours in 10 years. I've been writing for 10 years. 10 years is 3,650 days. We're going to take that 10,000 and we're going to divide it by how many days that is. According to that calculation, to achieve 10,000 hours of mastery, according to Malcolm Gladwell's theory, I would have
Malcolm Gladwell is not even... There's so many... so much. I have a lot of problems with many of Malcolm Gladwell's writings personally. If I am being frank, your name's not Frank, it's Diesel. Sorry, I didn't want to do it. Yeah, write fanfiction first. Fanfiction's such a low effort, good way to do things, you know. Oh, the tipping point. Yeah, so I read the tipping point, and I gotta be honest, after re-examining the tipping point, I am less... Oh, and Revenge of the Tipping Point. I am less about that idea now that I've read it like twice. You know, because it's the idea that like these small actions or like overreactions can lead to like big differences, right? Where like groups of people can pass a threshold that eventually like tip over the bucket of water per se. You know what I mean?
to write 2 hours and 44 minutes every day.
Oh, also, here's why I think Malcolm Gladwell as a social scientist should not be listened to. Okay? Even though he's not like a social scientist, he's like a fucking author and journalist. Malcolm Gladwell flew on the Lolita Express. On Jeffrey Epstein's plane. Malcolm Gladwell was a frequent flyer on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. Oh, his answer when he was asked by, I think it was the New Yorker, I have it up here. Malcolm Gladwell told New York, I don't remember much except being baffled as to who this Epstein guy was and why we were all on his plane. What do you mean? What kind of answer is that? I'm sorry. That's an insane answer to give. What do you... I don't know this man. I just got on his plane. What do you... Well, I feel like if you own a plane, there's a good chance. Is this kind of Diesel's Law? I would classify this as Diesel's Law. It was Diesel's Law the second Roach Belay showed up.
I have surpassed 10,000 hours. Like I said, this is something that I am intensely passionate about.
You should stop using Malcolm Gladwell as a barometer, is my point.
We don't write with passion, we write with words. Also, I haven't read The Outliers, but I can tell you from experience that this kind of pop psychology is usually bullshit, rarely applies to the creative arts, and suffers from a huge amount of confirmation bias. Some skills are just more difficult than others and not—
Thank you, I said that too. Oh my god, yes. Yes. Your ability to learn a skill is dependent on so many factors. Whether or not you're going to retain what you learn when you're doing the learning process is also dependent on so much. Like, there's so much.
Everyone has the same predisposition for them, but it's not as if Milo took the book as a standard and decided to publish once he had—
Okay, so he gets how that's worse, right? He didn't know what the Epstein money or clout was. He just wanted to go to the island. Like, he realizes it's way worse. Yeah, he just didn't... He's like, who's this guy? How'd I get here? It's like he just materialized on the plane.
Fulfilled its criteria of mastery.
Yeah, he's a liar.
Remember,
he's
he already tried publishing his book at 14 and 18 years old when he had nowhere near 10,000 hours. And now that he has them, that still doesn't automatically make him skilled or talented. Talent and mastery aren't something you can just claim. They are awarded to you by other people based on your work. And Milo's work never stood a chance because he wasn't just a bad writer, he was also a bad publisher. When Milo originally returned to TikTok in early November 2024, he tried crowdfunding his book via Kickstarter. If he managed to raise $8,000 by February 28th, he would self-publish his book and release it in October 2025. Then it became more and more evident that his Kickstarter would most likely fail, so one fateful day on February 14th, 2025, he cancelled his Kickstarter prematurely and decided to self-publish. This announcement came with a new release date, May 2025, just 3.5 months later. Just to clarify, this book is almost 400 pages long! Later in May, he pivoted to a June release, but that was not much better either, because those were still only 4.5 months.
I have learned to not say when you finish a project. Just don't say it. If you make something and you make art publicly for other people to view, I'm not saying my videos are art, but if you make stuff for other people in any capacity, don't say when it's coming out. Don't ever say that.
For editing, formatting, printing, and shipping a 400-page long novel. One of my best friends is an editor, and when I told her about this, she started screaming. There are several parts of the publication process that can take up months on their own, but Milo was consistently so pressed for time that even for those, he only had days to do them. After his self-publication announcement,
I hate that that's... well said.
In the next couple days, on February 19th, Milo found a developmental editor and started self-editing the book as well as he could himself before sending the manuscript to the editor on March 18th. He got the book back within the next 2 weeks, and by April 2nd, Milo had started
AirPod Maxes, $900 headphones.
The developmental editor's notes. I don't know how much time exactly he took for that, but he sent the new manuscript to a copy editor within the next weeks and got it back from them by late April. Now, some of you may be thinking that from April to June 30th, Milo would still have had 2 months left to edit, but June 30th was the release date when he needed to send the book out to you, his readers and customers. But that means that he had to send the order out to the printer by May 18th. And before the book went to the printer, it needed to be formatted. Formatter Joe had to prep this book for hardcover, paperback, and ebook, and he needed to integrate a lot of artwork, so that may have taken 1 or 2 weeks as well. Once Milo got the copy editor's notes, he may only have had 1 week to implement them. I repeat, the book is almost 400 pages long. Like, just so you understand how bad the crunch was, a lot of the online commentary around this book is asking why it hasn't been edited more, so people look at everything else Milo did during his production and ask why he did that thing instead of editing. Why did he hire so many artists, make so many special editions, and file for an LLC instead of editing? But even if he hadn't done any of that, there still wouldn't have been any time to edit. Hell, there wouldn't even have been enough time to read this book. But the issue with his crunch wasn't just that Milo didn't have time to do things properly, he also had to make really weird decisions with the order in which he did things, because in a production process, things don't just take time.
Go to the post-release flailing.
points, the prose as it is still has all the tells of a first draft where the author just writes everything down as they come up with them. Usually that gets fixed in later drafts, but that obviously didn't happen here. That made a lot of his readers wonder if the book was even edited at all and if he's one of those authors that just don't read. Just to cover our bases here in that regard, I did find an old and abandoned Goodreads account of his, so he has at least held books in his hands in the past, but he isn't exactly knowledgeable about the subject matter, which reflects in the quality of his writing. The first 1-star review got posted on July 7th. With that, Milo's gifted kid image was gone, though he would still spend some time in denial over it, first claiming on July 9th that his prose is bad because it's supposed to be true to his neurodivergent protagonist, as if colloquial prose isn't itself a
Oh my god. Oh. I don't know if it's a little woke of me to say, but that kind of seems a little ableist to say. Why is the prose all over the place? Why is the prose kind of bad? My protagonist is neurodivergent. What? We're talking about friendly fire.
skill you need to have. Then on July 13th, he pretended that Goodreads reviews are always that bad. By the end of July and early August, he was absolutely...
I will say, I think Goodreads suffers from the same kind of, like, annoying, kind of, like, faux common man pedagogy that, like, exists with, like, Letterboxd, where the people that are, like, reviewing things are almost curmudgeonly annoying about the things they're reading. It's like, I shouldn't be, like, reading a review, and the review is being compared against all feminist literature versus all other things. I know these things don't exist in a vacuum, but it almost seems a little ridiculous, some of the barometers of, like, whether or not a book is good or not that we're doing. Like that shit is very annoying. And the same thing happens with Letterboxd all the time. I feel like this is 100% an artist crashing out because their work wasn't considered complete in its raw form. Yeah.
Scrambling. His entire success was built on his public image, so if he wanted to keep his career, he had to save his public image. It's just that the 5 stages of grief do not pass in a single day, and just like when he was scrambling for experience, he was now scrambling for excuses, claiming on July 30th that the wrong ebook file got uploaded
So
as
you're
if that was
saying
the
I
only
can
version with
compare
issues on all...
Vimsy Pop and Persona? Yeah, I mean, the reasoning should be found. Like, I shouldn't be comparing Dungeon Crawl Carl versus something like Lord of the Rings, because they're just so fundamentally like their trappings might be the same, but like we're talking about fundamentally different things that are trying to do different things for the reader.
August 4th, he admitted that the book was bad and announced a complete rewrite, and on August 7th, he blamed another TikToker called Tia Lewis for the backlash.
I know that a lot of times, especially with like certain medias and creative avenues, it takes one negative video to spin it out of control. A couple days ago, I was up early and I was scrolling through my For You page. I unfortunately tons of people.
We've seen this.
Just published the first novel you ever wrote.
I believe this author fell into the pitfall that many other indie authors fall into. Let me explain. Now, being a debut author does not mean this is the first book that they've ever written and it's the first book that they're publishing. It just means that it's the first book that they've published. But what a lot of indie authors do is they write their first book, they get excited, they start talking about it online, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and then they decide to publish that first novel that they wrote as their debut. And it was very evident that that's what happened with this book.
He didn't even mention the Age of Scorpius by name, but even if he had, it's still the right of a customer to talk about their experience with a product that they bought. Also, he had uploaded his video on July 27th, which was almost 3 weeks after the bad reviews started getting in, which I already showed you that Milo knew about. So trying to blame the backlash on a different creator after he already admitted that the writing was bad is certainly something. First and foremost, it's stupid. When people criticize you for public rudeness, the solution is not further public rudeness. When people criticize your writing, then the solution is not to shift the blame on other people.
I feel like Persona is like a very different thing, though. I don't know.
Problem started with making thoughtless announcements, then the solution is not to make yet another slew of thoughtless announcements.
My name is Audra Winter, and I'm going to be redoing this book.
In early August, Milo announced his second edition for the Age of Scorpius to be released in December 2025. This announcement was incredibly ambitious already, but it could have been possible if the second edition had just been a very heavy line and copy edit. He probably still had a lot of unimplemented...
God, this is really funny considering I know somebody. I can't... The guy who I know that writes YA fiction does so many things that Milo does.
notes from April lying around anyways. Anything more would have been impossible because between mid-August and December, you still only have 4.5 months again. Holy shit! But of course, if I tell you that something is a bad idea, you already know that Milo did it. Instead of further line and copy edits, he announced yet another complete rewrite which would keep emergency mutating in and out of ever stupider ideas that made this section of the script an absolute nightmare to structure. And the reason why this keeps happening is because, as I already showed you, Milo is apparently allergic to doing any kind of research into his projects before he starts them. That's also why he originally set his Kickstarter goal at $8,000 in November 24, when it would later turn out he needed $10,000. And since then, Milo still hadn't learned anything at all. And instead of doing any research into his new project, he just copied the language of professionals without actually understanding why they say the things they do. That started the next cycle of Milo announcing stupid stuff, which eventually had to be retracted, which just eroded any public trust he still had and put even more focus on his incompetence. Milo eventually announced the second edition of Age of Scorpius as a chapter-by-chapter rewrite involving heavy input from his artists, with his goal being to finish at least one revised chapter each week, which he would at least in part upload for free on Patreon. This made the December release impossible on a mathematical level because 1 week for all 39 chapters would have been around 9 months until March. And that is without any further developmental editing, line editing, copy editing, formatting, and printing. So eventually Milo pivoted from December to March or April with a very optimistic option for spring 2026. Not because he had any reasonable basis to believe that it would be done by then, but because he thought it sounds good. The sounding good part is also the reason why so many of his posts either drip with fake professionalism or have him crying into the camera a bunch.
Like, everything in my life revolves around this because it's my special interest, and I'm neurodivergent. This has been my thing my entire life. This is my entire
I can't get over that. That's my special interest in neurodivergent.
As a human, with that passion and with the drive that I have to keep going, to not give up on this because I don't want to give up on my life.
Any plot structure the book could have ever hoped for, as well as the chapter-by-chapter process as a whole itself, because any deviation from the first edition in the earlier chapters would automatically off to other people was probably a good idea, but building his entire audience on his own face and then leaving during a crisis while pushing yet more work onto his artists did leave people disapproving, especially since the public communication since then hasn't been stellar either, and there are some announcements that just look better if you pretend you wrote them yourself. Another thing was his 3-month-long trip to Finland to hang out with his artistic director Sauli Rauhala, during which he went offline for a month. People are allowed to go on holiday, even in Europe, but the fact that he did so while already delaying the second revised chapter looked bad, and when he came back he did so with an essay called High Disturbance, still no chapter 2, and a whole new identity. At this point, people were also starting to dig
and a whole new identity. Oh, shit.
His multiple author pseudonyms. Now, going through multiple pen names when you are young is not suspicious or noteworthy, especially when most of them were created as a teenager. To be honest, I'm juggling way more accounts than he is, and I'm also better at covering my tracks. People who genuinely try to change their identities do not publicly acknowledge their old identities or announce their new ones on their old accounts. It is also not intrinsically suspicious to come out as trans in your early 20s while on a trip through Europe, or to accidentally choose a pen name that's already occupied. When
You can skip this part as a tangent of math. Yeah, but the way they said it was really funny.
Milo came out as transmasculine, he chose the name Milo because it derives from the word miles, which is Latin for soldier, and Milo is a military brat. But when combined with
Oh my god, that's so fucking funny. Oh.
the last name of his pen name, you get Milo Winter, which is also the name of a dead children's book illustrator. Again, this kind of stuff happens all the time. There is no name untaken. When I chose my own pen name to publish my poetry under, I picked that based on an old nickname and a personal interest. And then, a couple months later, when I was already published in a journal and...
It's very annoying that my nickname is Diesel, because I share so much with so many others.
Had held a couple readings, I found out that there's another author with the same name who publishes erotica a couple cities over, and I still haven't found a way to solve this issue, and all that I can do now is to just hope she never notices and wait until she dies. The only
Milo's parents are officers, I'm calling it. That would be so funny. Yeah, Diesel Patches, Vin Diesel. I mean, God. Those two alone is already too much to bear.
reason why Milo's name changes were an issue was because he had already crossed the lol cow event horizon, where people will criticize anything you do. I have seen these same commentators who told him to go...
The lol cow event horizon? I'm sorry, that's also an amazing way to word that. I love that. Lol cow event horizon. That there's a magical threshold. Malcolm Gladwell's The Tipping Point, if you will, of which upon you become the lol cow. Diesel, what's your opinion on family? Kind of overrated. I'm like the inverse of Vin Diesel.
Offline, then turn around and accuse him of taking the money and running away when he did go offline for a while, only to then turn around again when he did come back. This also worked in tandem with some misconceptions that a lot of people had about the entire disaster around Age of Scorpius. Those are inevitable in any large online drama with a lot of speculation, but in Milo's case, those were a direct consequence to stuff he had said himself. One of the most common pieces of advice that Milo got is that he should try writing anything other than the Age of Scorpius, because only writing this one thing is not exactly good for anyone's writing journey. The truth is that the Age of Scorpius, or his fantasy world, the world of Guardian, is not the only project he had. He had some other story called Canunus in 2020, tried his hand at a contemporary fiction once, and in 2021 he tried starting a different fantasy series.
I used to follow Diesel Patches years ago because I thought it was you. He literally doesn't sound like me. I don't know, man. I don't know. I really should have hopped on that slop train, though. I won't lie.
The reason why people thought that Milo only wrote his Zodiac books is because that's
I could hop on. I keep trying to hop on the slop train on here, but I'm so fucking busy. I'm unironically busy. I'm not like unemployed busy. I'm like busy.
He presented it. Both during his marketing and during the backlash, he went all in on this being his unum opus, and his other projects never got mentioned again.
When you have a failure, you're encouraged in the industry to just start something else. And I'm never
Yes, you should just start something else, man.
This has been my thing my entire life. This is my entire branding as a human. I will only write in the world of Guardian.
His self-presentation during his marketing also became an issue. After getting dropped by his agent, Milo properly returned to TikTok in November 2024 when he first tried marketing of the Trump election with some pagan stuff thrown in. Then Congress almost banned TikTok and the algorithm didn't play along, so he started crying into the camera a bunch.
Okay, I probably shouldn't be recording this, but I need to put it into perspective. For some people, I think it's important to see both the good and the bad.
Maybe he is the kid of officers. Maybe that's how he ended up going to Alaska.
Then he started self-publishing and the pre-orders came in and Milo got
make a bad 10-minute video using the word diabolical for no reason about a drama you don't know about, but you saw something on Reddit or Twitter about it. That's all slop is. Yeah, I mean that's kind of, let's be real, that is literally what streaming is, except with the added fucking run curse. Okay, if this is like a roguelike, you get like a cursed item when you stream that says you have to get in random arguments with your contemporaries every fucking 4 months.
Very excited about being a business owner now.
I own a...
It is crazy though how much like slop moves the needle on getting people to show up for a stream. Like a lot of channel growth is dedicated on that, or me like using the collab feature with the main channel.
6-figure business based around this world right now.
Especially the last switch
is
from
this describing that one D&D Reddit turned drama channel? I fucking can't stand that guy. Granted, that guy just represents a brand of creator that annoys me. This is why I don't watch commentary content. I don't know if you guys knew that, but I am kept abreast of many a situation via both the community and like people like KJ or Beckett, right? And that's how I'm kept like abreast of any situation. But otherwise, I can't stand it because there's like a smug superiority that comes with so much of it that I find absolutely infuriating. Abreast? Yeah, Milo uses his writing as therapy, and that's the reason they're so upset, because the books are a totem for their psyche, and it's unzipping them, yeah.
Marketing to girl boss bragging has been so drastic that it has left a weird taste in some people's mouth about how authentic it was and how staged the entire thing may have been. And don't get me wrong, there is a lot of performativity involved here, as it is with most social media. Just think about how many things he had to set up just to get this shot.
Yeah,
but
that's crazy work. Great cinematography on that vertical. I feel like you and Chris have the same kind of approach to commentary. Yeah, Chris talks to more people than me though. I am in the position of like, I don't really... Like, I have a really active community, and I'm really grateful for that, and I appreciate you all coming back after I had to kill that duplicitous Judas vampire Falgi, and his whore of Babylon partner. So I appreciate you all coming back and helping, you know, re-foster the community. That shit has been really, really helpful, and been like a singular good moment in the last few months of pure... shit, fuck, garbage, hell. So I appreciate that. But yeah, it's like a self-perpetuating thing where having a community helps me not have to be so terminally plugged in. Who got you into commentary? I got myself into commentary. That's how long I've been here. I've been around in this niche for a long time. Duplicitous Judas feels redundant, yeah, but it feels dramatically right. I have been around so long that, like, many of the people are gone now. I mean, like, shit. I was watching Tommy C, for example, fucking was in high school. Maybe a little bit like senior in high school. So I've been watching commentary for a while. But I stopped once it became my content genre. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't really think anybody got me into it. I guess if you want to point fingers, Wild Spartans, because he used to be in commentary before he went to go just read like Reddit memes and like Twitter drama or whatever he does now. I think it's like Twitter drama stuff. But he and I got into commentary around the same time as teens. And we brought Quite in pretty soon after when we went to PAX East, and it was like on a whim. Heretic has a nice ring to it. Yeah, Heretic. I used to watch you in high school, Diesel. Yeah, I know. So many of you people say that, and it's a hilariously aging thing. I remember when Diorio was debating Nerd City. I remember when people liked Nerd City. I remember sitting at a party with Nerd City. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I've been around for a really long time. I am like, I'd be lying if I said I like making things that are commentary now. I like making tabletop stuff. I think I like it a much better. I obviously don't want to be a father, but I cannot imagine having to go through the rigmarole of explaining to my future child, yes, daddy goes on the internet and he calls people cringe and mentally ill, and that pays for your school lunch. So I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what kind of message I'm sending there. Again, not that I'm looking to have a child, but if any accidents happen.
Emotions behind that were fake. Quite the contrary, actually. Milo's output in April and May is the most genuine and unfiltered image you can get of what it feels like to be more successful than you thought you could be, faster than you should be. I can tell you from experience, it absolutely fries your brain. Seeing his book get so much pretty artwork and
Yeah,
getting
dude, getting successful really quickly fries the fuck out of your brain. You kind of, one of the best things about falling off is how it recenters your, like, self-worth around something that's, like, less tangible. You know, centering your self-worth around numbers like that is so fucking bad.
Of affirmations every video and selling thousands of pre-orders must have been a level of prolonged euphoria that Milo will never feel again, even
Diesel
on
in
his
high
wedding
school.
day.
Yeah, you guys watched me when I was a fucking fat fucking chud.
Add to that the stress of a 4-month book publication and the accompanying sleep deprivation, and the result is a skull full of scrambled eggs. There is nothing left to lobotomize here anymore. Of course, it was jarring for the audience to witness because it was jarring to live through. Even more so with the shock of a public backlash.
From the time that I listed that pre-order and the time that I established an LLC was 2 weeks.
Another matter of bad looks was Alter Life, which is a poetry collection that Milo published on Amazon and a couple European sites on December 19th and started advertising on his platforms on December 23rd. I have already uploaded an entire video on that before, and I will talk about it further in a later section, but for now I just want to focus on its optics. On a page-per-day basis, writing poetry takes much longer than writing prose, but once your poems are written, publishing them is actually much faster than publishing a novel, because poetry doesn't get edited the same way that novels do, because you're dealing with multiple texts where you already edit some while others aren't even written yet. Poets also have much more creative freedom and creative control over their work. The only external input you usually get is from friends and feedback groups. When a poem sees a professional editor, it is usually one working at a journal whose only job it is to accept or decline your text as it is.
Yeah, this YouTuber has some amazing lines in here.
that actually work on your texts with you are incredibly rare and usually
Pi, I think saying you're famous is a bit of an overstatement.
tied up in specialized publishing houses.
When I'm on Love Island, the world will know my name anyways. I would fucking... That would be so funny, I'm not even gonna lie. You would Khalid House on Love Island.
When it comes to self-published poetry, 99% of what's out there has never seen an editor at all. I'm sorry to say this, but Milo actually did a book thing the usual way. He had a pile of poems that he wrote over several years, chose a couple to put into his anthology, and sent it off to his illustrator. Usually after assembly, I'd still give a poet a couple weeks, if not months, for agonizing over the last line edits, but fortunately for us, this is Milo Winter, so we already know that these poems didn't get edited. We actually have footage of one of them being written, and it was still the same in 2025 as it was in 2024.
Damn,
After
son.
Milo assembled these texts, he sent them to Elros for spell check and gave them to Sauli for the illustrations. I don't know how long Sauli and Elros took for that exactly, and whether Milo still made changes to the
I
text in
literally
the
have
meantime.
99 YouTube followers.
So Milo might
Nearly
barely have
100.
had a couple of hours of work away from
Imagine
Aegis
100
Scorpius.
people
But
chasing you down in the street.
how many people know that kind of stuff? When Milo published
I miss this shit. People don't have good insults of going over drama anymore. They try too hard. Yeah. There's two ways to be a drama person now. Overly like self-deprecating wokey, or annoying chud debater, and there is no in between. Are you aware the pit may or may not have taken inspiration from Pi's ER incident? Wait, the keratin? I never thought of that, but okay, I believe it now.
Alter Life, he had already delayed the second revised chapter for 4 months, so of course it looked like he had wasted
Dude,
months
Milo Winter's the type of person to be like, I'm Two-Spirit.
of editing time for this book instead. In reality, it was the other way around. The second chapter didn't keep getting delayed because he started working on Alter Life. Milo started working on Alter Life because the second chapter kept getting delayed. Again, I'll talk about it more in the crime section. Also, I already said that Milo's time pressure during the original production of Age of Scorpius was so bad that hiring
Yeah, the
less
turmeric lady. Yeah.
artists and releasing less special editions wouldn't actually have made the book better. But if you're neglecting the most important step in the publishing process, namely editing, then you shouldn't brag about all of the extras that you're doing, because it's going to be a bad look in hindsight. And if you're already looking bad for doing other stuff instead of editing, then releasing an entirely new book in a genre where people don't edit when you're supposed to edit the Age of Scorpius is the dumbest decision you could make, because now people were criticizing him for wasting editing time, and he can't even defend himself with the truth of how quickly Alter Life was probably published, because that's him publishing premature drafts again. Because Alter Life isn't good either.
We need
But a month before Milo published Alter Life, he published
unrelated, but I'm looking at drama talk right now. For the love of God, can one of you please make a fucking Goosework TADC Glitch Studios thread? First live stream listening while working on my MILF character in my Naruto-inspired universe. So based in Pog. We love MILF characters in a ninja-inspired universe. A la Naruto. But yes, please, for the love of God, can one of you fucking do it? Because apparently everybody's trying to kill Goosework. Dude, it's crazy how bad it's gotten. That's fucking bananas. Apparently the ending is mid. To be clear, it could have been the best ending on the universe and somebody would have been mad about it.
essay called High Disturbance on November 10th, where he generally talked about his mental health, climate change, came out as trans, still didn't apologize to T.L. Lewis, tried blaming the entire disaster on pre-order chaos, and
Goosework is the amazing Digital Circus showrunner. That is who they are.
Copy editor, and revealed that he hadn't actually read his own book before he published it. Now, when the essay came out, I already had a rough idea of what this calendar looked like, so the last part didn't surprise me at all, but it is still a bit outrageous. What's also outrageous is that this essay, where he's supposed to come clean,
Yes, there is a whole stream about Pi overdosing on carrots because Pi wanted to become orange because she didn't want to pay for a spray tan, and it landed her in the fucking hospital.
Still full of lies. The way that he presents the build-up to the backlash and the second edition is that he thought the book was fine when it came out.
I remember hearing Pi interview with Falgi and thinking that boring member of the community got the mic. No, but little did we know. Little did we know. He wanted to build a little harem of e-kittens for his polycule relationship. So that way he could be psychosexually attracted to his father, Diesel.
July 28th, he watched the Tia Lewis video, got enraged, read his book again, and only then did he notice how bad
It's almost as bad as the Potts one.
But that's not how it happened. Milo announced the second edition on his TikTok on August 4th, but he had already published the first 2 chapters of the first edition on
No, she wasn't
Patreon
even trying
with
to
a
turn
huge banner.
orange. What, Pie, you weren't trying to turn orange? It was yummy. You weren't just eating that for the love of the game. There had to be an end goal, right? Like,
Saying original version, not revised, on July 30th. And before that, Sauli was already publishing cover explorations
this
for the
is kind of crazy how many cover Dude, this Milo had like a dream, but like was just too proud of themselves to like do the work. The macros were good. I believe that.
Edition on July 29th.
Honestly, all the fiber seems like it would have been a really big issue.
And
Is last stream required before I come here? Absolutely not.
6th, which was a day before Tia Lewis even published his video. All Milo saw it. Wait, let's do a calendar here. The first edition of Age of Scorpius was released on June 30th, 2020.
I low-key feel vindicated because I fell off the op block early. I like Diesel more.
25. On July 7th,
the most annoying thing about that is that I had to stick around and deal with all of the pieces afterwards, right? Like, I have to sit here and like rub my fucking temples as Scarlet Reaper, now known as Blood of Death, walks around being like, "See, I told you so," as if that undoes the fact that he was quote unquote raped in VR chat. Or like, I have to sit around and listen to every other single stupid dipshit who got epically owned in the past because Falgi was there. Or the fact that Falgi, on his way out, decided to give every single little bit of everything to everybody else to try and make everyone else look bad, while he has to not deal with the consequences of his own actions. I don't think you... like, I've obviously not been talking about it, but just to keep it really short, fucking Falgi, when he walked away because he got so epically exposed, like, just basically bowed out of taking responsibility for any single stupid fucking thing and tried to blow that over onto everybody else on his way out. Like, I can't even begin to tell you how much this guy should never be let back in the house. Okay? Like, never. Never, ever, ever. Like really the issue I have is not even the fact that he was like, I mean, yeah, it is that he's like a liar and a fucking freak asshole. But it's that he just didn't take the responsibility. He didn't eat the crow. Okay? It's like, when something bad happens, you fucking sit there and you own it. But you have to lie all the way until you can weasel out of it. Like, honestly, you should get fucking hit by a bus. Like, it's crazy.
First bad review was posted. 2 days later, Milo tried pretending that his prose was bad because his protagonist is neurodivergent. On the 13th, he pretended as if all Goodreads reviews are this bad at the beginning. On the 18th, he published a post on his Patreon claiming that every line of his prose is carefully structured. By July 26th, he had started work on the second edition, and only 1 day after Sauli had already posted the first sketches of the new cover, had Tia Lewis even posted his video, and only...
This YouTuber has gone like the extra mile, because they're basically just proving that Milo is like literally just lying, like straight up just lying.
1 or 2 days after that, had Milo watched
I blame
it.
Beckett for introducing me to Chopped Block. Well, you know what's funny is that like every time there's like a new YouTubers always struggle with like dealing with their micro celebrityness. Right? Because I don't know what it is, but even just being even like nichely famous, people like throw themselves at you, and then people like irrationally hate you and all of these things. And so all of this is really, really hard to manage. Like when I say the emotional labor of doing content creation can be really high, that's part of what I'm talking about. And a lot of people, the reason that they fizzle out or they burn out or they go crazy is because they can't handle those things specifically. Brother, the only way Falgi comes back is as Cybersmith's human pet.
With the first edition chapters on Patreon, and still claim publicly that only the wrong ebook file got uploaded.
You know what's funny? It's really... Speaking of Cybersmith, sometimes on my For You page, I get a beautiful thick woman, and I click on their profile, and then I see that Cybersmith is always following them. I don't know what that says about me. I definitely don't overlap with him that much, but that is funny. Fauci mentioned in 2026.
August 4th, Milo announced his second edition officially on TikTok and admitted that his book wasn't up to par. And 3 days later,
I know, you have to understand, we were explaining the time when a chatter by the name of Pi overdosed on carrots. Okay, and Fauci appeared there, all right? And that's how that started.
he still sent his audience
Who is
after Tia.
Cybersmith? You know what? I should do a Cybersmith stream again. Cybersmith commented on my YouTube poop of the Fauci apology.
Lewis just for shits and giggles? And somehow, all of this is still not as outrageous as what he tried doing with his copy editor here. In High Disturbance, he claims that the reason why his edits were insubstantial is because
Dude,
his copy
I love
editor did a bad
Cybersmith. It's hard to hate Cybersmith, man. That guy got some serious fucking mutton chops, brother.
job, and that Reedsy, the platform that he used to hire his editors, started an investigation into his copy editor on their own while he didn't know anything about that yet. But this is not what happened. Fellow YouTuber Meredith Novako actually got in contact both with Reedsy and the editors, and their story was a tad different from what Milo said here.
I asked Reedsy, did you initiate it of your own accord, or was it requested? Reedsy says, yes, it happened in September of this year at the request of the author. According to the platform, Milo reported these editing passes and wanted them looked at and wanted a refund. When I asked what the result of the investigation was, they said that neither Reedsy nor the third-party editors found any faults with the developmental edit work.
You know, when Cybersmith appeared in our chat, he said his name was a word of power. He was heard of Darkboard's. We just never saw it. Dude, I love seeing the picture of Cybersmith at the train station completely out of context from Cybersmith 2. Like, that image is just like the Reddit mod, like one of the Reddit mod pictures.
To the contrary, the work was praised by all third-party editors who looked at it and confirmed what the developmental editor had told me when I reached out to her for my last video, which was that the editor did tell Milo that
I am so serious when I say this. I really am rooting for Cybersmith to find someone someday, because he will make such an amazing house husband, I think.
It was not ready for publishing and needed a lot more editing. Bear in mind, Milo has said stuff publicly that contradicts that. Milo has claimed at points that both the editors signed off on this manuscript.
Just apologize that your art wasn't palatable and move on. Why do all this over a flop? Well, you got to understand that Milo associated his entire self-worth with this. It's hard for Milo to move on, because as much as The Age of Scorpius is a bad book, it is the entire identity of Milo between Milo's tween years and young adult years. Milo is going through the thing that everybody goes through, where you figure out that everything is not what you thought it was, and you need to pick yourself up and figure out what life is really about.
It was ready for publishing. Then they started to talk about the copy editor. Here's what they said. While the copy editor did a lot of work on the manuscript, there were still a high number of missed errors and inconsistencies. For example, with capitalization, our assessment overall was that the manuscript needed a second developmental edit with focus on inline edits, or at least a very heavy copy edit, while the work from the copy editor was more of a very heavy proofread. Additionally, the author had mentioned to the editor early on.
Yeah, he bakes and writes poetry like lol. Cybersmith touches more grass than well-adjusted people. He's just a silly British chud. Yeah.
That their intention was to have a publishing-ready manuscript after this copy editing pass. Given that context, we believe it would have been important to inform the author that the manuscript was not publication-ready after the copy edit. So that's what the platform said. When I spoke to the copy editor, she told me that basically the second she found out that Milo was unhappy with her work, she was happy to provide a refund. And that is corroborated by the platform. Inadvertently, I hadn't even asked them about that because I reached out to them at the same time. But the platform said, as a result...
Yeah, it's like every single thing that we're hearing about Milo, basically it was just like, Milo's entire self-identity is tied to this book, so Milo struggles to listen to critique, criticism, or re-edits from other people. Like, the reason Age of Scorpius is so shit, not that it would be any better than middling in the future, is because Milo can't separate himself from the work. Like, you need to be comfortable with deleting stuff, with getting rid of stuff, of killing your darlings. Like, you need to be comfortable with that, and that's a really hard thing for new writers.
decided that there were grounds for a refund for the copy editing collaboration. That said, as we reached out to the copy editor about this, they offered to refund the author in full themselves. I have always worked on the basis that if an author tells me they are unhappy with my work, I'd be happy to offer a refund in full. As a result, the author did receive a full refund for the copy editing collaboration, and for that one only. She also did say that the feedback that she got from the website deemed the edits given were all correct, but that Milo's manuscript required more extensive edits as well. Upon reflection, I also agree with their assessment. All of that to say that the platform did decide to refund Milo. So even though the editor offered the refund and was happy to give the refund, the platform did the investigation anyway and did find that a refund was deserved. I want to come back to my point that it doesn't matter. It's not the copy editor's fault that the book was in the form it was in. You, the author, should have realized it wasn't ready for publishing.
Also, let's not delude ourselves. Milo already thought that his book was ready to be published before he even hired his editors in the first place and set a way too tight deadline to properly edit anything. He only had a couple of weeks to implement the developmental edits and only had 1 or 2 weeks to implement the copy edits. That's not enough time to properly edit anything, let alone 400 pages of Age of Scorpius. Even if he had the best copy editor in the world, he still wouldn't have been able to implement the necessary edits in time for the release. And after all the times he talked about how great his editors—
I swear to God, it looks like Milo's gonna read me my fortune with that fit. I'm sorry. I don't know what's problematic about it. I want to call it, I know that's not a do-rag, but my first instinct is to call it a do-rag because that is what I'm familiar with. But something about this feels like this has the same energy as like the guy that's wearing like the Native American headdress, but he's like very clearly super white, you know what I mean? Like this has that kind of zest to it. Am I like being hashtag too woke right now, or like what? Not just not social oppose. I'm talking about the platonic idea of a guy with a headdress.
how much he respects them and used their experience to advertise his book.
It reminds me of when I worked for an Orthodox Jewish couple. I'll say that.
To immediately put the blame on them when things went wrong and throwing his copy editor under the bus like this is some of the most underhanded
fortune-telling machine
behavior I have ever seen. And it's not as if Milo saw their copy edits, found them to be bad, and then ordered a refund. He was perfectly willing to use their suggestions for his book, then called everyone who called the book bad a bully, and then he turned around, making every excuse possible, trying to shift the blame for his book being bad on anyone but him, because he just can't admit that something went wrong because of him. I don't like the way he talked about the pre-order chaos either. Yes, managing several thousands of pre-orders in 2 months does take time.
How is that a racist thing? If I say the outfit looks problematic, Romani, yeah, I mean, I guess it looks like he's doing like a Romani face. Yes, that is what I am saying. But I'm not saying that Romani people tell fortunes. If you associate Romani people with fortune telling, that tells me more about you than it tells me about Romani people. That's why I said the Vistani earlier. The Vistani are the fictional people from Ravenloft, by the way, just in case you're curious. Yeah, pirates are grifters. He is in his bro. Okay, Shrek.
I'm away from editing, which is why you shouldn't open pre-orders at that stage yet. But who did this?
He's not telling fortunes, he's reading horoscopes. Let's just call a spade a spade. Those are the same thing, right? Like, those are the same thing. One's like, you know, outwardly to the future. One's like in the present moment to later in the day, you know? If my horoscope for the day is bad, I'm going to be like, I'm going to go through the day with trepidation. You know what I mean?
Him on his timeline? Who made him start self-publishing right after his Kickstarter failed? Who made him announce his book for just 3 and then 4 months later? Who made him hire artists before the book was even through his self-edits yet? Who made him open pre-orders when he was still implementing developmental edits? Who made him raise the daily limit on TikTok Shop from 50 to 100 when he was already getting sleep deprived? Who made him sell a special edition when the first edition wasn't even out yet? Who made him start a second edition? Who made him do a complete rewrite instead of a copy edit? And who made him set the release date for that in December and then spring when either's way too early?
Goddamn.
Who did this to you? I think it's important to see both the good and the bad. of talent.
This is where I have to talk about Milo's neurodivergency. Our dear subject here has always been very open with the fact that he has both ADHD and autism, shortened to ADHD. But Milo seems to be under the assumption that that's some kind of superpower and not a self-compounding combination of disabilities. To be clear,
I hate it when people are like, ADHD, it makes me so wacky. No, you don't. No, it doesn't. Fucking stop it. Stop it.
Neither ADHD nor autism make you a bad writer who lies about the credentials and bullies anyone who criticizes them, but there are other factors in the saga where it's not a coincidence.
You said she looks like one of those people, you know what I mean? Not a do-rag. No, not... I said I don't know what to call that other than a do-rag. I can't remember what another word for it would be. Excuse me, I hang out with people who are trying to protect their waves. Alright? What do you think they're gonna be wearing? They're gonna have a fucking silky on, brother.
That they came from someone with this combination of mental disorders. ADHD and autism can manifest in very individual ways, but they're both diagnoses that heavily affect your brain regulation, including your emotional regulation and...
Dude, how would Milo look with waves, though? I think that's really the question we should all be asking, okay?
Impulse control. ADHD impulsiveness does not magically stop when it comes to making business decisions. And once it comes to that, dopamine-seeking behavior can overlap very heavily with grifter behavior because you get a new idea, get very excited about it, and make a ton of promises while
I think that's a little ridiculous to be like... Because that almost implies that, like, being ADHD means that you're going to be more inclined to be a grifter. I don't know about that.
Simultaneously suffering from time blindness and neglecting important parts of the production process that don't give you immediate positive feedback. All of
Yeah, it's not a superpower. You're productive in spite of your mental illness. Lol. Like, I write as much as I do because my thoughts are fleeting and I need to be nailed down. Milo thinks it's quirky. Yeah.
which automatically sets you up for failure, leaving you in a slump that makes your brain start dopamine seeking again. That's the cycle underlying his 10 years of premature publications. That's the cycle underlying the entire catastrophe. Milo specifically runs on a 3-month dopamine seeking cycle. He started querying for a new agent in August 2024. After 3 months of failure, he went on TikTok again in November, setting up a Kickstarter for his self-publication without rebuilding his audience first. When that failed, he ended his Kickstarter in February 2025 and started a self-publication timeline so ludicrous that it covered both this and the next cycle. After his book failed, he announced an impossible rewrite in August. After the difficulties with that became apparent, he moved to Finland for a while and both published high.
Yeah, the making promises you can't keep is definitely still different. I feel like a grifter is like a conscious decision. It's like, oh, I know I'm not into this, but this makes a lot of money. Let me double down and like ply people's emotions for money, you know? Like a grifter in some ways knows what they're doing is manipulating people's emotions for money.
Disturbance and started another project that I'm going to talk about in the crime segment in November. During this entire time, the World of Guardian LLC was rapidly bleeding money, both for Milo's living expenses, the storage apartment for his special editions, the tens and thousands of dollars of artwork in his books and on Patreon, etc. In High Disturbance, Milo admits that he hadn't put aside any money and that he put all 6 figures back into his business.
Why? I don't even know. So, like, putting 6 figures back into your business doesn't mean you immediately spend all 6 figures, right? Like, you know that, Milo? Is that what you did? Did you just, like, blow 6 figures on expenses on the business so that way you could zero it out on taxes?
He blew it on artwork. This brings us to the topic of his artistic studio. Throughout his TikToks and High Disturbance, Milo claims that he had either 15 or 16 or 20 plus artists working under him. He mentions 16 of them by name in his TikToks, but one of them jumped ship early, so he quit.
I think Milo wanted to have his hyperfixation filled, and when that all started happening, it's like, oh, people are interested in my autistic fixation. I am going to spend all this money on things that I've always wanted about my fixation, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm going to blow all my money on these commissions because I'm so obsessed with my world. Basically, they're just like so obsessed with their world that they're blowing money frivolously. Right? I think Milo is gonna languish in the age of the Scorpius book. Right? I think that's what it's gonna be forever. I don't think Milo's gonna move on to grift with a new book. I think Milo's gonna flounder to ever move on from it. You know? But in the moment, Milo got what he wanted, which was his OCs to be drawn in beautiful artwork, for his world to be rendered in extreme detail, for all these visual components to exist of it forever.
15 of them in the special thanks of his book. I don't know how he got to 20, but he was also just impulse contacting new artists in May and June, including a composer. This may be connected to a bunch of other projects he was dreaming up at the time, like an audiobook, merchandise, a TTRPG, and illustrated booklets of every chapter, but naturally all of those ideas went down the drain after the initial backlash. It is also not clear how these artists got paid. On his call for artists...
Yeah, the TTRPG, it's like all of these projects in the burner at one time, it's like screaming like, I saw Brandon Sanderson and I want to do the same thing and I'm obsessed with my world and I want to do all this stuff because I think my world is capable of doing this. You know, not every fantasy world is fit for all those things.
On Reddit, it seems like he was going to pay them on commission, but he also repeatedly claimed that some were employed. On one occasion, he said that he also wanted to pay his artists royalties for the book. On another one, he claimed that the chapter booklets would have a 50-50.
I'm sorry, that's like insane.
The royalty split.
In fact, when we do sell these little booklets, we are going to do an even royalty split. So half of it is going to be to me and half of it is going to be to my artist as well as to our formatter.
So fucking unfeasible.
So I'm not sure how much money everyone got for the work by the end, and we'll probably never find out because of a possible NDA, but the entire thing was probably incredibly expensive. After the book was released, half the team signed off and Milo went to continue working on a second edition with a team of 8 people, but since the money dried out, he tried crowdfunding for $70,000 on an angel investors website.
$70,000. Yeah, 50-50 split 3 ways. Yeah, that's a crazy split. That is a crazy split.
That he wanted to set the path for a new literature-based genre of art consumption, as if that hadn't already been a thing for thousands of years at this point. Fortunately, that fell through when he deleted the campaign after the public got wind of it. By October 9th...
We should add delusional confidence to his disability.
The only people left on his team were himself, Elrose, Sauli, and maybe editor Caitlin if she ever existed. In December, his artistic director Sauli also jumped ship. On February 21st, Milo finally cancelled the entire project. The way that a friend of mine who also has ADHD explained it, dopamine can also come from ridding yourself of a project that has brought you nothing but pain in the past. But what even was the project? Milo's entire fantasy world is called the World of Guardian. Within that world, the Age of Scorpius was supposed to be the first of a franchise that would at one point have possibly encompassed...
The idea of like, I am a first-time author, I want to make a franchise is crazy, right? So it's like, I have a story to tell. I'm going to tell that story is one thing. But I'm going to tell a story. I have a story to tell. This is going to be a humongous multimedia franchise. Is like a completely different thing. Yeah, write one book first. Yeah, write one book first. If it's good, you write another. And then if the multimedia franchise comes, you got it. But otherwise, just write a thing.
Past 4 or 7 books in the main series, and there were even plans for a pre- and post-series.
Yeah, what do you need 70 grand for to reinvent the publishing industry?
The Age of Scorpius as we got it is actually a very simple book. We have a protagonist...
See, that's a cool cover, too. Like, it's a cool cover.
Spring who lives under an oppressive regime.
That's the 6'5" Giga Chad behind Reika or whatever.
On a MacGuffin hunt for a thing that could help her overthrow this regime.
Is that? No, that has to be, is it?
On the way, she makes friends with like-minded people, uncovers the hidden history
of... that looks like a lady. That would be Nara, right?
Of her world, her own past, and saves and reunites with her one true love. All of this sounds way better when I summarize it than when you read it. In the actual book, plot points are barely connected, party members are just picked up by chance or randomly decide they're part of this adventure now, and a huge chunk of the world building is simultaneously over-convoluted and underdeveloped. The MacGuffin can only be accessed through a secret city with a magical barrier that doesn't let anyone enter except if they're descendants from specific bloodlines, but since all of our characters stem from those bloodlines anyways, this barrier ends up being more of a joke than anything. The first chapter spends a lot of time setting up the mystery of Conviction Woods, a forest cursed to murder anyone who enters it, but not only is this mystery entirely irrelevant to the plot, but almost every character we meet ends up being immune to this curse anyways. There's a lot of yapping about the world's government systems, but key points like how the Scorpio Code is supposed to help the Scorpio government even stay in power at all are entirely left out. Everyone constantly worries about the concept of magical balance, but no one knows what it even is. The worst offender is probably the magic system. People with different zodiac signs have different superpowers, but every sign...
I desperately need this explained to me.
Can also have one of multiple powers, and some powers are available to multiple signs. Then there's also genetics involved. Some characters...
Dude, all of the art for this is fucking outrageous with how good it is. It's crazy.
Have primary and secondary magic, and since multiple of our characters are zodiac turners, a lot of people just end up switching signs and randomly unlocking new powers too. There are so many rules and caveats here that everything feels completely random, while Milo's bashing you over the head with his info dumps, insisting that this is totally a hard, rule-based magic system. You just don't get it. There is a reason
It's
for
like
that.
you don't need it to be a hard base. I've said that last stream though, where it's like you don't need a hard rules-based magic system. The only reason people want to do that now is because fucking Brandon Sanderson's popular.
You see, when I was a teenager, I had my very own world of Guardian.
But like honestly, you could just like fucking do whatever you fucking want.
In my case, it was a superhero fantasy called Born, and it was heavily inspired by the Parahuman series. I had ideas for characters and costumes and superpowers and team-ups and 1 or 2 plot moments, which usually centered around how which character would die because I was still an edgy teenager. But do you know what I didn't have? A story. Because this world
Look,
was...
I listen to a lot of trash fantasy harem-lit audiobooks. This sounds like one of them without the harem.
Well, without the harem, it feels like it's kind of missing the whole big point, right? Like you need the juice with your chicken, otherwise it's just like dry ass chicken, you know.
Made to host a story. It was made to host my brain when I was bored in math class. The story could change to whatever I thought would be cool at that moment. The characters weren't characters, but more akin to imaginary friends, and the world building itself kept endlessly changing as any new idea I ever had could be grafted onto it. There is a non-zero chance that on different halves of the world, Milo and me simultaneously sat in biology class, learned what recessive and dominant genetics are, and immediately brainstormed ways to work that into our magic system.
Oh my god, yeah. That's crazy.
Result was an absolute monstrum made out of characters that got added last week and story beats from since before I got braces. This is normal. Any writer goes through a phase like this. Baby's first fan.
Yeah. Power scaling and its consequences. Even JJK has soft spots on his hard magic. Yeah, the hard magic is a trap IMO. Yeah, because like people don't question your like power scaling or like world system like that unless you start bringing like the guy who comes out and expounds upon the rules, right? Whereas like where you get like the guys who are like domain expansion, and then like we all know that a domain is like a sure hit, and then there's like exceptions to that rules because it's not actually a rule, and then it's like, you know, it turns out none of these things are actually rules, and it kind of actually depends, right? Which is why I think it's neat for stuff like JoJo's, because JoJo's does not have a hard magic system at all. I know JoJo's appears that way, right? But outside of everybody who has a stand being able to see the stand, stands can kind of literally be whatever the fuck. Like, you could have a stand that's like a telephone pole, or a stand that just kills you. It, like, kills the person whose stand it belongs to. We barely even know what stands are. They are ghosts that punch, but we don't know, like, why they exist, how they exist. Why does Star Platinum look like that? Why does the world look like that? Why does any stand look like that at all? Even Naruto and his chakra types, it's like, everyone can have chakra, but then everybody has like a special skill that's like associated with their whole like vibe, you know? And it's like, Gaara could do other things, but Gaara is the sand guy who uses sand. Tamari is the one who uses the fans. Fucking Sasuke is edgy and has lightning. Or any of that shit, right? Like it's not like they actually like, there are rules for the powers, but they're so soft that it could just be like whatever you really feel like.
Fantasy world usually sucks.
The
or
stand that doesn't do anything until you die, yeah. Or the stand that like gives you, oh, it's in JoJolion. There's a stand that duplicates anything or any legal tender you're holding endlessly, but it'll do it until you drown under it. So the person who originally owned a stand had to like hand off the stand to somebody else by giving them the duplicating tender, and then they have to do that to somebody else. And it has to be by you giving it to them. You can't sell it like to other people.
is that it's fun, but trying to make a good story out of any of that would take a decade's worth of distance and hindsight, and within that distance and hindsight, you have to
10-10
realize that
uses chakra to write herself out of the story. Yeah, the hard magic stuff is such like a novel specific thing that exists these days, but like I don't mind those things, but like I like it when there's wiggle room, you know.
is a difference between having a lot of ideas and having good ideas, and that there is also a difference between having ideas and having a story. Milo never realized that. The world of Guardian
Yeah, infinite money for everyone, but you got to keep passing to Dutchy. Yeah, pretty much. Or what's is the stand what is it called? Biggie Smalls. There's a stand called Biggie Smalls named after the rapper, and it only activates when the user dies, but when it does, it sends an invulnerable, ever moving forward thing that will go and attack someone. So it will kill that person and then move on to the next. So this is like a stand that could literally end the world, but they like stop it by throwing it out of a plane.
is Milo's first fantasy world.
Oh,
He had been
Notorious B.I.G. Yeah. Thank you.
working on it since he was 12, and in the 10 years since
Biggie
then, he
Smalls, Notorious B.I.G., Potato.
kept adding new ideas, characters, and world building. This is how you end up with this mess of a magic system, generations worth of bullshit, and a fantasy setting that is also a post-apocalypse, even though it really
Biggie Smalls is the unkillable big growing thing. Okay, well now I'm confused. Yeah, they have all these stands that are so specific that like it all is like very I also stand corrected. Yeah, Notorious B.I.G.
doesn't need to be. That is also how Milo ended up writing books 2 to 6 simultaneously, while he still hadn't nailed down what even goes into book 1, and why the contents of book 1 still kept changing too. This is why the revised chapter 1 included a moss zombie deer that wasn't even in the first edition, but was in Milo's very first TikTok from January 11th, 2021. Milo claims that he kept rewriting and changing the book to find the right place to start, the right story to tell, the right age, developing different characters, switching main characters, because he wanted to find the best way to tell his story, but it's the other way around.
Killer Queen has a lot of aura.
The story didn't keep changing because it's what's most important. The story kept changing because it was entirely secondary to the notebooks he wanted to chase through. It's the world of Guardian, not the story of Guardian. And that is just the neurotypical extent of it. In Milo's case, there may be a dozen other factors at play here, like this world possibly being a coping mechanism for trauma, and or an autistic paracosm that became a foundational part of how he deals with the world, and or an ADHD
Internet Reaper is here. The Internet Reaper. Oh boy, here we go. It should be fine now. It says it's on still. Are all these stands references to music in the 80s? No, sometimes stands are references to music from now. JoJo's is still being written, but Iraqi is like a humongous Westaboo. And so all of the bands are named stuff like Boys to Men, Wet and Cold, Earth, Wind and Fire, Prince, Purple Haze. So there's a lot of 80s music, but then there's also like 90s and 2000s. There's a stand called Limp Bizkit. Can't forget about Limp Bizkit. Yeah, but Killer Queen is the Queen song. And then Killer Queen also has a smaller stand called Sheer Heart Attack, which is really fucking cool. What's another one? When is the stand Brat Summer coming? Hey, never put it past him. Apparently, Iraqi is a big fan of Sabrina Carpenter. And that's not a fucking joke. So, I know Brat Summer's Charlie XCX, right? I don't know. I don't listen to white girl music. Iraqi does, though. Born This Way, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of stands. And you got to remember in part 7, there's Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. And so people abbreviate that as D4C, but Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap belongs to the President of the United States, whose name is Funny Valentine. A JoJo's Tabletop would go so fucking hard. You say that, but it's actually like nearly impossible because there's no way to like... That's the problem, is that you can't manage stands at all. Because stans can literally be anything and do anything. Yeah, the Chainsaw Man guy adores American cinema. He's like a huge American cinema nerd. Man, this guy loves American music. I'm telling you guys, you need to get on some JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Okay, in part 1, there's Jonathan Joestar, and that's when we meet Dio, and literally, Dio is such a bastard. He steals Jonathan's first kiss, and he also throws Jonathan's dog in a like brick stove, in like a brick oven, and burns it. And then he becomes a vampire, and Jonathan Joestar has to leave his home with REO Speedwagon, the guy, not the band. Like, I don't, it's so much, there's so much. Joseph is the best. You would say that. You like old men. Okay, and then in part 2, Joseph Joestar, the great-grandson of Jonathan, goes to chase... Oh, don't forget Zappelli. Yeah, I can't forget Zappelli. That's so true. But in the second part, Joseph Joestar teams up with this lady called Lisa, and we don't really have time to address any of that right now because the Nazis show up. But the Nazis are like the good guys in this, and they're cyborg Nazis. And then they run into the Pillar Men, who are a bunch of ancient vampires who also aura farm and stand around. And they're all named after bands. There's like Santana, there's Cars, there's so many. I love JoJo's, guys. I love JoJo's. I'm a huge fan of JoJo's. I also really I watched Gundam The Origin 1 today, and there's so much like it is so fucking ridiculous how fan servicey Gundam The Origin is. You can't make a tabletop for this anime. The rules are just made up. You could do anything. Yeah, no, literally. Hey, you say sweating bullets. Well, there's actually a stand that's also a gun. And the bullets are alive, and the bullets always hit their target because the bullets can change their direction. And there's a tiny stand that's a little plane that flies around and drops bombs. Sex Pistols, yeah, that's the name. Is it Sticky Fingers? The one with the zipper guy? Is this Sticky Fingers? God, there's so many. There's so many. I fucking love JoJo's. Part 5 is my favorite. Yeah, it would be a game that just runs off of vibes. It just wouldn't even work. All right, I think I've exhausted my attention span on this. It's 10 anyway, so I definitely need to go to bed. Aerosmith and Sex Pistols. God, I love JoJo's. I love JoJo's. It's so good. You guys don't understand. JoJo's is amazing. You should all start watching JoJo's. My favorite part is 4. 4 is also really good. It's a quick toss-up for me between 4 and 5. It really is. I think I just like the Italian setting more. I think that's what pushes it over the edge for me. All right, well, I'm going to head out.